tomorrow. The officials to be used in North America are NHL referee tonight with Brad Lazarowicz and Wayne Bonney working the lines. And Glenn Sather directing traffic behind the bench. He should know this team pretty well. He traded 6 of the players that are on the Canadian roster in 1996. Mark Messier will face off against Igor Larionov, and this hockey game is underway. Sergei Gonchar, number 55, throws it ahead there for Slava Kozlov. Messier intercepts and looks ahead. Verbeek, the ex-Ranger, with Graves and Messier up front. Here's Darius Kasparaitis, who loves to play against Mark Messier as a member of the New York Islanders. And Scott Niedermayer slides it down into the Russian zone. Slava Kozlov for Gonchar. Gonchar looking for Igor Larionov. Larionov takes a hard bump there from Adam Graves. Now Gonchar across. Scott Stevens loses the puck to Larionov, but it hops over his stick. Pat Verbeek with a backhand pass. Here's Mark Messier on Kasparaitis. And Kasparaitis gives Messier a whack. And now here's Primo taking it away from Gonchar. Primo with Verbeek, and a big save right off the bat is made by Andrei Truffaut. And the puck is cleared down into the Canadian zone. Pat Verbeek with the best scoring chance of the hockey game so far. And this big crowd gives the Canadian team a hand.
Well, Pat Verbeek gets lots of wood in this shot too, and Trefilov is able to get his toe on it. Boy, he stretches out to get this one. Watch Trefilov here. He's got to make the major stretch. Here it comes up. There's the turnover that creates the play. Primo is out front right there. You can see Trefilov with the toe that sticks right out. And that's pretty good wood in that shot by Verbeek as he one-timed it.
Now Eric Lindros stepping in with Keith Primo and Claude Lemieux, and you see the new face-off markings being employed. And that'll be used in the NHL this year as well. Vladimir Malikov gets the puck. That's Andrei Nikolishin, number 33 of the Hartford Whalers. He lost it. Now Oleg Tverdovsky picks it up at the blue line. Tverdovsky of the Phoenix Coyotes. And he's checked by Primo. Eric Lindros comes back to scoop up the puck for Canada. Lindros ran over Alexander McGillney and took a whack on the way by. Now Nikolishin, watched by Lindros, who had him lined up but missed. And Nikolishin with it at neutral ice, and Lindros is all over him, knocked the stick right out of his hands. And a penalty coming up. Eric Lindros working on Andrei Nikolishin. And we will have the first power play opportunity of the hockey game, as the penalty will go to Andrei Nikolishin for hooking Eric Lindros.
And Nikolishin loses his stick, as you rightly called here, Gordon, then he just grabs onto Lindros, stick, arm, and all right here. You can see the grab, and that's why he'll go off for holding. Big Eric Lindros began the game against Team USA out in Vancouver. I watched that game, and Lindros was the most dominant player on the ice, and he's continued here against Team Russia.
Face-off in the Russian zone. Now Lindros out there with Wayne Gretzky and Theoren Fleury, Paul Coffey and Steve Yzerman back on the point. But the draw is won by Alexei Yashin out there killing the penalty, and Lindros hammered Jetnik in the corner. Here's Yzerman. Puck off his skate, and Dmitry Yushkevich of the Toronto Maple Leafs flips it in. A lot of familiar names for the Russians. They're not the enigmas they once were. Now Fleury with a big hand for Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky across the line. Cross ice for Paul Coffey. Behind the net for Gretzky. In front for Lindros. Back to the point to Yzerman. The shot wide. Now Gretzky shoots it right through the crease. Lindros with the turnover sends it on net, and Andrei Truffaut, the former Calgary Flame, hangs on with Gretzky and Fleury standing right on his doorstep.
Well, there's not too many people around this Canadian camp that don't believe that Wayne is not feeling too well, but he creates scoring chances every time he's on the ice. He did in Vancouver, he did in San Jose, and look at this here. This goes right through the crease, almost crossbar and out. Wayne Gretzky creating offensive chances almost every time he's on the ice.
One of the greatest games he ever played was against the Russians in the '87 Canada Cup, a 6-assist performance in Game 2 of the Canada Cup final. And now you can see them explaining the rules to Alexander Semak against Mark Messier, and Semak will be forced to leave, and Sergei Berezin, the only Russian who didn't play in the NHL last year, loses the draw. Now Trevor Linden. Back to Scott Niedermayer. That shot deflected, and Trefilov makes the save. Now it's Verbeek out there with Messier and Linden. Back on the point, Scott Niedermayer and Rob Blake. Here's Scott Niedermayer. Ahead for Trevor Linden. Linden takes a bump and then gets dropped. Darius Kasparaitis took him out low. And this is Kasparaitis. He took a shot from Linden. And they're going to call Trevor Linden for bringing down Darius Kasparaitis. The second half of an encounter in Russian territory.
Well, Trevor Linden gets the response penalty, but Darius Kasparaitis is about as North American than a Russian can be, Gord. I mean, he plays hard, he hits low, and you could see him take just a little bit of an extra dive as Linden put the stick on him. Kasparaitis plays at a high level. I think the real difference here is that this is North American hockey. You know, I talked to Igor Larionov about it. He's hoping that their team plays the Russian style, but Glenn Sather knows that this team is full of NHL players, and they're gonna, the complement of the style will be interesting. Part NHL, part Russian.
4-on-4 for the next 45 seconds. Here's Larionov with Tverdovsky. Larionov tees it up just wide, and Scott Stevens picks it up for Canada. Ed Jovanovski gets his first ship, looking ahead for Vincent Damphos. Now wheeling ahead with it is Slava Kozlov, back for Vladimir Malikov. Kozlov, look, the Russians circling and circling. Kozlov throws it to an open corner, and Jovanovski has it. Ed Jovanovski played 94 games this year, including the regular season and playoffs. Previous high, 66 in junior. And a short summer for Eddie Joe of the Florida Panthers. Now here's Jovanovski with it. Jovanovski unable to hang on to the puck as Nikolishin steps out of the penalty box. A power play for Russia for the next 1 minute. Rod Brind'Amour and Steve Yzerman are out there to kill the penalty up front with Adam Foote and Paul Coffey. Here comes Nikolishin across the line. Drop pass for Alexander McGillney. Back to Zhitnik, a hard shot, and Martin Brodeur able to make the stop and got some help from Adam Foote. Now Zhitnik directing traffic. Here's Nikolishin to Zhitnik. A shot through traffic off the side of the net. Jamnov couldn't get it. Yuskevich keeps it in at the point. Zhitnik for Yuskevich. Soft wrist shot deflects just wide. 20 seconds to go on the Canadian penalty to Trevor Linden. And the puck is cleared down by Steve Yzerman. Fresh penalty killers for Canada. Eric Lindros out there with Adam Graves.
You can see a bit of a trend happening, Gord. Obviously, Russia likes to have puck possession. They'll do anything to hang on to the puck. And already Team Canada is trying to break things up in the neutral zone and did a good job of it on that penalty kill.
Penalty to Trevor Linden is over. Long cross-ice pass for Keith Primo, but Sergei Gonchar picks it up. Now here's Valerie Bure. Long lead pass, but offside for Alexei Kovalev. No score between Canada and Russia in the first period.
This summer, TSN and Subway want you to put a bite on us to win. Win one of 6 weekly baseball or football prize packs, and all correct entries will qualify to win a grand prize trip to 2 World Series games or a trip to this year's Grey Cup game. Get an entry at participating Subway stores, then tune in and look for the Subway Bite during TSN baseball and CFL broadcasts, and mail in each week for a chance to win.
TSN is proud to present the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. Tonight's first period is brought to you by Bauer. Leave an impression.
On the right is Russian head coach Boris Mikhailov. On the left is Sergei Makarov, his assistant coach, former Calgary Flame, who was the Rookie of the Year for the Flames back in 1989-90. Boris Mikhailov taking over for Igor Dmitriev, who is suffering from a brain tumor and had surgery in the last month. So 2/3 of the KLM liner here, Igor Larionov and Sergei Makarov. Goodness knows where Vladimir Krutov is. Probably in a restaurant somewhere. 14:55 to go here in the first period. No score between Canada and Russia.
Talked to Boris Mikhailov before the game, and he's coaching in St. Petersburg, and that's when he got the call to take over this job with Team Russia.
Eric Lindros ran right over Kovalev. Now Primo in the corner with it. Keith Primo centers it for Lindros. Puck was in his skates. Now Lindros throws it down low. Claude Lemieux there with it. And Lindros has it. Back for Claude Lemieux, being watched by Alexei Yashin. Now the puck behind the net. Primo still with it. Cycles it down for Claude Lemieux. And Lemieux leaves it there for Lindros, who in turn leaves it back there for Lemieux. Now Claude Lemieux. Pass for Lindros is too far. Scott Niedermayer pitches up for Canada, loses the puck, and quickly Gonchar sends it ahead for Alexei Kovalev. Kovalev has Yashin with him. Kovalev trying to work on Rob Blake, centers it, but off his skate, and Canada able to clear it ahead. Here comes Theoren Fleury, and Trefilov clears it just out of the reach of Wayne Gretzky. Here comes Kovalev now for the Russians. Knocked down by Jovanovski, but still able to center it. Wayne Gretzky intercepts that pass. Gretzky ahead for Jovanovski. And Jovanovski leading the rush for Canada. Gets it to Fleury, backhand shot, Trefilov the save. Now Damphousse battling for it, lost the puck. Sergei Berezin tries to get it to McGillney. Here comes Berezin, number 20. Berezin with McGillney. Leaves it there for Tverdovsky, but the pass is intercepted. Now Damphousse sends it over for Fleury. Cross-ice pass for Wayne Gretzky. Centers it, deflected, and score! Theoren Fleury! 1-0 Canada. And the most popular member of Team Canada here in Calgary has the first goal.
And this is redirected off of Theoren Fleury's foot. Gretzky puts the puck on to Damphousse, directing. You can see there, it actually hit Trefilov. They'll either give it to Damphousse or Fleury. Fleury was right on top of the crease. As you can see Andrei Trefilov want to go after the referee and question that call. And we are having a little bit of an explanation here.
Now remember, the rule's been changed this year in the National Hockey League. The puck can go in off your skate as long as there isn't a distinct kicking motion. I don't think that would be the issue here.
I'm not even sure. It looked, at first look, I think both you and I felt that Fleury had touched it. On second look, it looks like Damphousse redirected and it went off a Trefilov cord.
So Damphousse and Fleury talking it over on the Canadian bench. And Canada with a 1-0 lead with 13:10 to play in the first period. And they're still trying to decide who got that goal. Here's the announcement. Damphousse gets it. Fleury gets an assist along with Wayne Gretzky. The goal goes to Vincent Damphousse, and Canada has a 1-0 lead.
If you want full Office Suite power at a word processor price, look no further than Corel WordPerfect Suite. Corel WordPerfect Suite includes an exceptionally intelligent word processor, an award-winning spreadsheet, amazing presentation graphics, plus business graphics and utilities, hundreds of fonts and thousands of clip art images. Corel WordPerfect Suite delivers Office Suite power at a word processor price.
Kick back with Eat More and enter to win a 97 Jeep TJ. Mail in an entry form plus 2 Eat More wrappers and find out if you're a winner on TSN September 21st and 22nd. Look for displays and entry forms at participating stores including Becker, Safeway, Co-op Atlantic, and Max.
Ooh, that looks sore. I know what the doc will be recommending for you. Deep Cold Therapy. It works like ice. Deep Cold eases a pain of sore muscles. In fact, it's the best-selling cold rub on the market.
Deep Cold Therapy, effective ice pain relief.
Vincent Damphousse is seeing his first international action, a late addition to this Team Canada squad. Here's the goal.
Well, you can see why Trefilov was upset. He thought that Fleury touched it, but it was his own defenseman that knocked it by him.
Adam Foote unable to keep the puck in at the Russian line, and Foote now sends it in. Adam Foote had a very short summer after playing for the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. Now Messier forces the turnover. Messier out there with Verbeek and Graves. And Graves working behind the net. Adam Graves brought down, penalty coming up. Graves still with it, looking to get it to Pat Verbeek. And Alexei Zhitnik will touch it. Team Canada will get its second power play opportunity. And Dmitry Yushkevich will go off for bringing down Adam Graves.
One of the things Team Canada wanted to do there, part of their game plan was to cycle the puck down low. They thought they could take advantage of this Russian defense, and so far so good for Team Canada. You can see Yushkevich grab on right here. Good foot movement. Pat Verbeek keeping his feet moving, and Yushkevich just had to pull him down. That cycling motion has been successful here in the first period for Team Canada.
Now Lindros out there with Fleury and Gretzky. Paul Coffey and Steve Yzerman back at the point. Alexei Zhamnov is out there to kill the penalty, along with Alexander McGillney, Sergei Gonchar, and Darius Kasparaitis. Coffey, and unable to keep the puck in at the line. It's offside on Team Canada. 12:20 to go in the opening period. 1-0 Canada leads. Steve Yzerman back playing for Team Canada after disappointment in the Canada Cups of 1987 and 91 when he was cut from the Canadian team just before the tournament began.
And you look at how strong Team Canada is up through the middle. Yzerman now playing defense, obviously in the power play, but Stevie Y will take a shift on the winger up through the middle. You know, Team Canada, Gordon's really strong up the middle. That's going to be their #1 strength so far.
Here's Coffey ahead to Gretzky. Gretzky sends it across for Fleury. Back to Yzerman. Here's Gretzky now. Kasparaitis working on him. Lindros sends it in front, and Darren Fleury fanned on the shot. Now Lindros. His pass for Fleury was behind him. Fleury gets around Zhamnov, but now forced to retreat ahead for Paul Coffey. Coffey with Lindros. And the poke check by Gonchar. Here comes Alexander McGillney. McGillney tripled the linesman. And the puck is knocked away by Steve Yzerman. Brad Lazarowicz got back, I believe it was, and knocked Alexander McGillney off stride. Now Gretzky to the front of the net, and it's knocked right to the front of the goal by Alexei Kovalev, and play is called.
Alexander McGillney is normally pretty good one-on-one. That time,
but not with officials.
Was it Wayne Bonney, or did he trip? He was by Bonney, Gordon. He tripped on the blue line. You know, you joke about that. He got tripped up by the blue line. McGillney's such a good skater. Look at the smile on his face. Giving himself a hard time. There's a good look at those new face-off lines. See how Messier's got his skates lined straight up. That's going to be the key this year.
Messier wins the draw cleanly. Back to Scott Niedermayer. Now here's Trevor Linden with Pat Verbeek and Messier in front. Linden, pass for Messier is knocked away by Malikov and cleared down the ice by Alexei Kovalev. 30 seconds to go in this Canadian power play. Niedermayer and Blake back at the point. Here's Mark Messier. Messier waiting, trying to get it back for Niedermayer, but couldn't get it to him. Now here comes Yashin. Sends it ahead for Kovalev. Onside, Alexei Kovalev with a shot just wide. Now Messier back the other way, trying to send in Pat Verbeek. Now the puck goes back to Verbeek at the line. For Niedermayer, shot, rebound in front. Malikov clears it away. Niedermayer had that pass knocked away. Rob Blake will be forced to retreat. The penalty to Dmitry Yushkevich has expired. One shot for Canada on that power play. 10:18 to play in the opening period. Canada leads Russia 1-0.
In the opening game against Team USA, Rob Blake in Vancouver was Team Canada's best player, or so voted, as he received Player of the Game.
Played in only 6 games last year when he tore up his knee. In fact, Rob Blake has played in only 30 games in the last 2 seasons for the Los Angeles Kings, but says he is 100% and hopes this World Cup will have him in playing shape in time for the NHL regular season.
Another look, Gordon, at the face-off here. You can see Brad Lazarowicz has kicked out the Russian Seamak again because he didn't line up straight.
Right off the face-off, Lindros got the shot away. And Trefilov makes another stop. Now Primo trying to forecheck, can't reach the puck. Paul Coffey throws it ahead, but here come the Russians. Sergei Berezin, who will play for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. Berezin hooked by Claude Lemieux, and Claude Lemieux will go off for hooking as Dan Marawale caught him putting his stick on the Russian puck carrier Sergei Berezin.
Well, off the face-off, a number of things are going to happen. You can see Eric Lindros there get a great shot off the face-off. That's going to be, I think, a reproduction of what's happening on those new lines. And there's the penalty just off screen. That's Claude Lemieux pulling down Sergei Berezin. Berezin with the good speed that you're going to see with Maple Leafs this year. And all three penalties so far have been restraining penalties. And obviously, with the speed of both these teams, Dan Marawale wants to let them play.
10 minutes to play in the opening period. The Russians on the power play. Slava Kozlov is out there with Kovalenko and Larionov. Kozlov back to the point to Kasparaitis. Here's Andrei Kovalenko. Kovalenko for Larionov. Here's Slava Kozlov trying to get it to Kovalenko. Tries again, the pass was behind him. Rod Brind'Amour comes away with it for Team Canada. He'll wait and just softly dump it down into the Russian zone. Sergei Gonchar, top scoring defenseman for the Washington Capitals last season, number 55, brings it ahead. For Slava Kozlov. Kozlov has his pass knocked away by Mark Messier.
And there's not too often that you'll see this Russian team get up to the red line and dump it in, as you might see the Boston Bruins or other NHL teams. Total possession is what they're after, and many times it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Vladimir Malikov runs the power play for the Montreal Canadiens. Sets it up here for Igor Larionov. Larionov for Andrei Nikolishin. Back for Larionov. Here's Malikov with a shot right on. Brodeur makes the save. Larionov for Nikolishin. He's got McGillney with him. McGillney might want to get his skates checked. He stumbled again. Rob Blake breaks up that pass. Puck loose behind the net. Ed Jovanovski. Can't get around Larionov. 30 seconds to go on the penalty. Here's Larionov. Side of the net. Nikolishin off the side of the net. The puck is cleared out. 20 seconds to go on the Canadian penalty. Here comes Vincent Damphousse with Wayne Gretzky. Damphousse, Gretzky, and the puck bounced over his stick. Oleg Tverdovsky brings it back the other way. The Russians 3 wide. Tverdovsky for McGillney. Big collision. Puck loose in front. They score! Alexei Zhamnov gets the rebound and ties the game at 1. It's a power play goal with 5 seconds left in the penalty to Claude Lemieux. And Oleg Tverdovsky was involved in a huge collision in front of the Canadian goal.
How many times have we seen it in the game of hockey where you get a chance down one end, Damphousse just can't land this flat for Wayne Gretzky. Great try, and then this goes right down the ice. That's Tverdovsky. Now watch the collision here. Bang! Whoa. There's a collision there. And Zhamnov will come off screen, just put it right by Martin Brodeur.
Ed Jovanovski levels Oleg Tverdovsky.
Jovanovski steps up. Here's a chance by Zhamnov. Boy, there's a guy you don't want to give too many chances to. Zhamnov with 22 goals, 37 assists last year. He'll be playing this year in Chicago if all of that follows through. Actually, he will be in Chicago this year.
Alexei Zhamnov has scored at least 20 goals in each of his 4 NHL seasons. Now Claude Lemieux back out there. Hammers Zhitnik. And it's sent back behind the net. Alexei Zhitnik picks it up. Zhitnik of the Buffalo Sabres, acquired in the Grant Fuhr transaction. Now a 2-on-1. Alexei Yashin with Valerie Bure. And hustling back was Eric Lindros to break it up. Now Kovalev steps around Lemieux, centers it. Puck bounced behind Bure. Valerie Bure behind the net for Alexei Yashin. Trying to center it back to Bure. Puck hit a skate. Now Paul Coffey rides Alexei Yashin down. Lindros all over his man, Valerie Bure. Claude Lemieux steps into Zhitnik, able to clear the puck out, and Alexei Zhitnik and Claude Lemieux are having their own private battle out there. Yushkevich ahead for Yashin. He steps across the line, and Alexei Kovalev was ahead of him offside. 7:04 to go in the first period. Game tied at 1.
NEBS is a direct marketer. things like checks and forms and business cards and labels. You know, being in a small town doesn't hinder our business at all. The majority of our customers use either the Advantage toll-free phone or fax lines.
And really, the 1-800 lines are the lifeline between us and our customers. We've had an increase of about 35%.
If our 1-800 lines went down, we'd be out of business.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
Dave Hodge is back tomorrow night with his new show, That's Hockey, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, and just in time for the World Cup of Hockey. All hockey, all the time with Dave Hodge starting tomorrow. Here it is 1-1, Canada and Russia in the first period of this World Cup pre-tournament game. Canada closes out the pre-tournament games tomorrow in Edmonton. And having played back-to-back against the United States, I think most Canadian players anxious for the tournament to begin for real, which it will Thursday against Russia at General Motors Place in Vancouver. Now Steve Yzerman at center with Rod Brind'Amour and Trevor Linden. Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer, the defense pairing from the New Jersey Devils, back there for Team Canada. Scott Stevens up along the boards for Rod Brind'Amour, and Brind'Amour steps into Darius Kasparaitis. Rod Brind'Amour unable to keep the puck in. Sergei Berezin, who saw limited ice time in the game against the United States in Detroit, playing more tonight. Trevor Linden steps across the line, but Steve Yzerman was pinned by Darius Kasparaitis, and offside is the call. Alexander Mogilny made quite an impression in his first NHL game. 20 seconds after the opening face-off for the Buffalo Sabres in his first game, he scored the third fastest goal a player has ever scored to begin his NHL career. And of course, he led the Vancouver Canucks in scoring last year as his countryman and best friend Pavel Bure missed most of the year with a knee injury.
And many people in Vancouver, Gord, are looking to see that duel with the return of Bure, but Mogilny really stepped up last season in Bure's absence.
Mogilny, the youngest player ever to win an Olympic hockey gold medal for the Russians. Here's the puck in front for Mark Messier, trying to tap it and get it over for Adam Graves. He could not. Now Mogilny with it. Mogilny was 19 when he won that gold medal in 1988 here in Calgary. Scott Stevens loses the puck. Stevens able to get it back now and send it cross ice for Mark Messier. Messier for Pat Verbeek. And Verbeek lined up by Darius Kasparaitis. Now Graves with Messier behind the net. A lethal combination for the New York Rangers. Graves battling for it at the side of the net. Messier trying to center it for Verbeek. And Stevens can't keep it in at the point. Mogilny's on top of him. Alexander Semak picks it up. Semak from a sharp angle at the side of the net. Berezin leaves it there. Mogilny picks it up for the Russians. No one came back for Canada. Sergei Berezin, number 20. Throws it down for Alexander Mogilny. Wants to get off the ice. And now the Canadians send it ahead. Scott Niedermayer. He wants to get off too and sends it down to the Russian zone. Igor Kravchuk, traded to St. Louis by Edmonton midway through last season, sends it down. Here's Damphousse. Damphousse is poke checked by Malikov, and his Montreal teammate Andrei Kovalenko sends it cross ice. And now Malikov being watched by Wayne Gretzky. Malikov got it ahead for Kovalenko. Kovalenko working one-on-one, and Jovanovski hammers him down. Two big hits by Ed Jovanovski in this game. Now Gretzky across the line. Gretzky across for Jovanovski. Lost the puck to Malikov. And Theoren Fleury has it for Canada. For Damphousse and for Gretzky. And offside is the call at the Russian blue line. Wayne Gretzky almost in alone in a 1-1 game with Russia.
Getting a trimmer, flat, or tummy just got easier. Hi, I'm Joanne McLeod.
I'm Hal Johnson. The Body Break Ab Master from Quality Fitness is the first product we're confident enough to put our name on.
With AbMaster, men and women of all ages and fitness levels can get a firmer, flatter stomach in just 7 minutes a day. There's also a free workout video and instruction guide to help you along. Feel great and get toned with the Body Break AbMaster. In stores now.
20-year-old Ed Jovanovski, the youngest player on this Canadian roster, throwing his weight around.
Well, Eddie Jovanovski stepped right in here for Al MacInnis, and not to replace him, but you can see where Jovanovski's done a good job of doing what he's good at. He's taken the body twice, Gordon. He's made impact. That time on Andrei Kovalenko as he just out-muscled him off the puck.
And Jovanovski, a big part of that Florida Panther run to the Stanley Cup final last year. Ed Jovanovski had a grin a mile wide this morning when he was told he'd be playing tonight. I'm in, he said. I'm in.
Well, I watched the after practice, the guys that aren't playing, I know how hard they worked, so maybe that was part of the grin. He's been working very hard.
Dmitry Yushkevich lost the puck to Adam Foote. Now here comes Claude Lemieux. Lemieux with a shot wide. It's Eric Lindros in front of the net, waiting for that rebound, and Claude Lemieux takes a stab at the pass by Primo and just couldn't get it. Now Coffey racing back. Martin Brodeur knocks the puck down, and we've got a slashing penalty coming up to Eric Lindros for some action behind the play, and Eric Lindros setting a physical tone against the Russians and promised earlier today he'd try to soften them up prior to the first tournament game on Thursday. And now some pushing and shoving. Alexander McGillney is talking it over with Claude Lemieux and Adam Foote.
Alexei Zhamnov was the guy that received that slash by Lindros.
Eric Lindros is the only player on the Canadian roster who's played in the World Junior Championship, the Canada Cup, the Olympics, and this tournament.
You know, many people are trying to talk already about him receiving the torch from a guy like Wayne Gretzky. I like Eric's response. He said, let me play this season, let me play this World Cup, and let next year take care of itself.
Russian power play here. They scored on their last power play opportunity. They're 1 for 2 in the hockey game. 4:16 to go here in the first period. Canada and Russia even at 1. Rod Brindamore out there to take the draw. He's got Trevor Linden with him up front. Scott Niedermayer and Scott Stevens back to kill the penalty. And Zhamnov, who scored the Russian goal, dangerously in front. Here's McGillney. Lost it behind the net. Now Brindamore with it, and able to clear it out for Team Canada. Trefilov plays it ahead for Alexei Zhitnik. Here comes Dmitry Yushkevich. Ahead for Alexander McGillney. For Alexei Zhamnov. Zhamnov, drop pass. Mark Messier got back to break that up. Scott Niedermayer for Scott Stevens. And the puck is cleared out. 1:20 to go in the Canadian penalty to Eric Lindros.
The Russian power play looking to get the perfect setup in Team Canada's zone. The real difference in my mind, Gord, is puck possession in the Russian game as compared to puck positioning, which is sort of the North American game.
Here's Zhitnik pitching in deep, worked over by Scott Stevens. And Stevens can't pick it up. Stevens for Rob Blake. And Stevens was knocked down behind the play. Now Messier waits a moment and clears it out to neutral ice. 50 seconds to go in the Canadian penalty to Eric Lindros. Here comes Alexei Yashin with Valerie Bure. Bure poke check neatly by Rob Blake, and a partial break for Vincent Damphousse. Damphousse working on Sergei Gonchar. Ed Jovanovski pinching in for Canada as Damphousse gets worked over. Damphousse gets knocked down hard by Gonchar. And now Gonchar comes away with it for Russia. 20 seconds to go in the Canadian penalty. Damphousse hooks down Valerie Bure. Now here comes Kovalev sending it in front for Gonchar. And Jovanovski did a good job breaking up that pass. Now McGillney for Gonchar. Lots of time. Gonchar off the skates of Rob Blake. Kasparaitis. Gonchar. Gonchar tees it up. Loose puck in front. They score! Alexei Kovalev makes it 2-1 Russia just as the penalty to Lindros had expired. It is not a power play goal, but Alexei Kovalev has given the Russians a 2-1 lead.
Alexei Kovalev is the recipient of this right here. Look at the traffic. The backside is where Kovalev comes in, but that was a good, solid shot by Gonchar to put it on net. Martin Brodeur out on top of his crease in good position. And Alexei Kovalev scoring 24 goals with the Rangers last year, picks up one right there.
And a career high for goals last year for Kovalev. Now Kozlov with a steal. Primo lost the puck. Kozlov tries to tip it back, and the two Detroit teammates going head-to-head. Lindros now slides it in for Trefilov, who plays it up off the glass. Kozlov got bumped hard. Coffey can't keep it in. Eric Lindros out there with Keith Primo and Claude Lemieux, two players who give him a hard time in the NHL regular season. Now Kovalenko out there. Kovalenko scores! Andrei Kovalenko with a shot that deflected, and in behind Martin Brodeur. 3-1, Russia leads. And suddenly the crowd here in Calgary very quiet.
And this goes off of foot skate right here. Look at that. That's redirected past Martin Brodeur. And you can see the redirection happen. Boy, how powerful of an offense is this Russian team. We knew that they'd have the great offense. We saw some of that in the last minute.
2 goals in 36 seconds, the latest scored by Andrei Kovalenko from Oleg Tverdovsky. Now here's Wayne Gretzky for Canada. For Theoren Fleury. Gretzky for Damphousse. Puck knocked away. Scott Stevens can't keep it in. And this pass is offside. So Andrei Kovalenko has given the Russians a 2-goal lead, and Glenn Sather looks on. And he has been somewhat irritated by questions about his defense. He feels that the blue liners that he has are fine. He did say that he didn't think they'd bring in a player late to this camp. It is possible for Canada to make additions up until 24 hours before the opening game of the tournament, but Sather said highly unlikely Canada would bring in a player like Ray Bourque, even if Bourque did want to play this late in training camp.
Well, Sather talked about that too. You know, a guy like Bourque or others, what kind of condition would they be in? That would be a factor. Have they been skating? There's a whole bunch of factors you've got to think about if you're Glenn Sather.
Now Dmitry Yushkevich ahead for Alexei Kovalev, who has one of the Russians' 3 goals. Back for Yushkevich, who flips it down up over the glass and out of play. 46 seconds to play here in the first period. And Theo Fleury, who played for Team Canada at the 1991 Canada Cup, was an all-star at the 88 World Junior Championship. Do you know who the other 2 all-star forwards were? Sergei Fedorov and Alexander Mogilny.
It's quite an era that Theo Fleury's grown up in, isn't it? Boy, those what a group of competitors. And you know, you sort of send into that group Fedorov, Bure, Mogilny. Great to see that line together.
And Jovanovski getting a lot of ice time in this opening period. Added from Canada's list of alternates to replace Al MacInnis just hours ago. Now Messier behind the net. Mark Messier centers it, but the net came off. It's pegs. And now Darius Kasparaitis is into it right in the goal area. Darius Kasparaitis, as you might expect, has been a burr in the Canadian saddle throughout this game, and that's what he specializes in doing. And he was pushing and shoving down there with Pat Verbeek and then Adam Graves.
Well, Kasparaitis' gloves gourd came off first. Will there be an initial response here by Dan Marawelli? There's Verbeek. Verbeek actually knocks Kasparaitis into the net. You can see Kasparaitis with the gloves off quickly. Now they met a number of times. Kasparaitis is an Islander, Verbeek in recent days as a Ranger, and now a Dallas Star.
And 2 players not afraid to mix it up, at least in the pushing and shoving sense. And so penalties will be assessed. 24.5 seconds to go in the opening period. NHL rules to be played in the pre-tournament games and the World Cup. And Boris Mihailov's team has had its share of problems, some training camp squabbles and some intra-player squabbles. There are some serious divisions among Russian players, and it's a very difficult situation in their home country right now. Just finding a place to have their training camp was difficult enough.
Yeah, Sergei Fedorov with some comments in the newspaper today about how it wasn't fun to be in a training camp in Russia and how things were very disappointing. Fedorov was excited to be here in North America finally with the team.
Kasparaitis and Verbeek get 2 each for roughing. Setting minor penalties. Now Zhitnik. Up along the boards for McGillney. Stolen by Jovanovski. His shot stopped by Trefilov at the side of the net. Messier with it now. Back to the point. Jovanovski, a shot right on. Trefilov the save. Rob Blake can't keep it in. Long lead pass for Alexander McGillney in the final seconds of the period. Jamnov touches it offside the call. 1.6 seconds to go in the first. The guy they call Archie when he was in Winnipeg, Alexei Jamnov, the first Russian ever to be nominated for the Lady Byng Trophy. He was nominated for his efforts in the 94-95 season and won a gold medal with the then unified team at the 1992 Olympics in Albertville, France. 10 players from that Albertville team on this Russian roster. So the Russians scored 2 goals in the final 36 seconds in the final couple minutes of this period and lead 3-1 on Canada.
Really interesting first period for Canada. Good offensive movement, and they've had trouble with the Russian speed outside and discipline. The power play has been a factor.
Canadian and Russian players head to their dressing room with Russia leading Canada by 2 after the first period.
World Cup of Hockey live at the intermission is brought to you by Pepsi Stuff. People who drink it, get it. Ends October 31st.
The Russians are as talented up front as any team in the tournament. That first period pretty much bears witness to that, and they didn't have Sergei Fedorov and Pavel Bure.
Nice move by the Russians, actually, when you think of it from a psychological point of view. If they lose the game, they come back and they say, hey, when we open up, Bure, Fedorov back in the lineup. Now we've got our best guys putting our best foot forward. They don't have them in there tonight. They win the game. They can take a lot of strength from that. Pretty sloppy effort by Canada in the first period. They've got to get better goaltending on that third goal than Martin Brodeur supplied.
If you ever question what Ed Jovanovski was going to bring to this team, I think he showed us that immediately. That was a huge body check that he threw out there. As a matter of fact, a couple of them.
Yeah, Ed Jovanovski, that's what he does best. It's going to be interesting to see in games against some of the European-type teams if he gets caught out of position making those plays, but certainly against the Americans and softening up the Russians for later in the week. Good move in the first period by Jovanovski.
Yeah, when he drilled Oleg Tverdovsky, Alexei Zhamnov jumped on the puck and buried it. We saw that 3 times as the Russians lead by a count of 3-1. We'll take a short break. We're back in just a moment.
Music looks like a lot of fun when you're playing, and it is. It's a business, though. You've got to make ends meet. I make 500-600 calls a month. The Advantage program is definitely something that's come into play in a big way. When you're out on the road, you're working 24 hours a day. Checking back with the office, the voicemail. The discounts for me have come in around 30%. It's a sizable chunk of money. It's a long, slow process to an overnight success.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
You didn't tell me.
You never asked.
But I thought we had everything in common.
We do. We're both great tasting, except that I'm low in fat.
Low in fat?
Yeah.
You say it like it's no big deal.
Kellogg's Rice Krispie Squares have always been low in fat. Hey, now you know.
Who'd have guessed?
What's it like? It's kind of hard to describe.
Come on, you gotta tell us.
Okay, it's like we're all great tasting.
Yeah.
But I'm low in fat.
Low in fat must be nice.
Kellogg's Rice Krispie Squares have always been low in fat. Hey, now you know.
You're so lucky.
It can be a little bit deflating when you see your leader and your best player and the guy that's kind of carrying the torch for the team go down. And I guess what you try to draw on is all the experiences that you've had in the past where similar things have happened and how you reacted and what worked and what didn't work and try to get that across to the players.
84, 87, and 91. Mark Messier is a veteran of these international wars. He joins us now live from Calgary. I know this is going to be a tough question, Mark, but how does this team compare to those teams of the past?
Well, I think comparisons are always have to save it for the end of the tournament or end of the regular seasons. You know, the teams that have won the last 3 years have been great teams because that's what they've done. They've gone on and won the tournaments. I think it's way too premature to judge this team, but the talent and the chemistry that we've tried to put together so far is really good, and we've got a long way to go. It's the toughest tournament, I think, that I've ever been involved in, and it's going to be toughest to win, but that'll make it just as special to win it.
Mark, it's Bob McKenzie. You're playing with a couple of familiar line mates tonight, Graves and Verbeek. Do you have any idea at this point who you might be lining up with when the tournament opens on Thursday?
You know what, it's all just up in the air right now. We're just trying to see what works best for the team. And when you come to these kinds of tournaments and there's not much time to get ready, you just try to fill in a spot where you think you can help the team the most. And I think we're all aware of that, and that's what we're trying to do right now, is just find a little niche in the team that we can contribute the best and go with that.
Mark, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but Chris Chelios has suited up with Team USA tonight. He's now there for the duration. There's lots of speculation. Jeremy Roenick's going to come in. There's been a lot of talk about Al MacInnis going out, Ed Jovanovski coming in, and talk of maybe Ray Bourque being invited back to play for Canada. Are you disappointed at all that a guy like Bourque isn't in the lineup and what he could bring to the unit this year?
No, not at all. I think it's up to every individual to just choose whether he wants to play or not. I look at it as a great opportunity. I know for myself, the Canada Cups and the World Cups are some of the best hockey that I've ever been involved in. I've learned a lot from playing with these players and playing against the best players in the world, and it adds a little bit of different flavor, and I know I've learned a lot, but Raymond has certainly put his dues in for every aspect of the game on and off the ice as an ambassador and as a great player for the Bruins, so we're not, we'd love to have him here, but we respect his decision, and we fully expected Chelios and Roenick to be in the uniform for Team USA when the tournament opens.
Mark, you talked about how tough this tournament is. Can you ever remember a time from your international experience when you got two clubs like the U.S. and Russia that threaten Canada the way they do?
Well, I think that the Russians always have. I think the victory in '84 was an incredible victory for the Canadians. I think at that time the Russians really were the powerhouse in the world. They had won in '81, and Canada had some catching up to do. But since then, we've kind of dominated this tournament anyways. And but I think the gap has really closed in on Canada, and that's not to say that Canada doesn't have great young players that can play against anybody in the world, but the gap is closed, no doubt about it, and we've set a standard for the international hockey and across the world, and teams have had to catch up to be able to compete, and we're seeing the end result of it now with a strong U.S. team, and Sweden is much improved and has all the other teams.
Well, thanks very much, Mark. We appreciate you taking the time. Good luck in the remainder of this hockey game and the tournament itself.
Thank you very much.
Mark Messier, the assistant captain for Team Canada. Talk about your consummate leader. And everybody brings this up year in and year out, but he truly is that.
Well, there's no question, and you look back on some of the international competitions and some of the blows that he's delivered for not just scoring goals, but also a physical presence, and that is so important, the leadership. And this is a changing of the guard time, too. You've got Eric Lindros who's coming up, and it's almost a situation where Mark Messier is passing the torch off to Lindros. Messier's got to be good, but Lindros has got to be as good, if not better.
I know that Glenn Sather has stated before that he expects Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, and Paul Coffey to step up in the dressing room, but he wants the young guys to do it as well. They expected Al MacInnis to be stepping up on the blue line, but he's not playing in the tournament as he pulled out today.
It's on a bit of the road to recovery, but again, with the two doctors that I've been seeing, Dr. Dave Reed and Dr. Terry Groves, they both agree it would take probably up to 2 to 3 weeks to fully recover and get my strength back, and that doesn't even include the on-ice conditioning. And you know, we all know by that time the tournament's pretty well over.
You know, at this stage, even trying to get somebody else to get in here, we've got one game left tomorrow. If there was more time, there's a way we could get around it. But with the shortness of the games, or the quickness in the games and the shortness of the tournament, it's pretty difficult to ask somebody to come in here that hasn't been training and practicing and skating at this level.
Well, we've talked about Canada's defense, and going into the tournament, we thought it was their Achilles heel, so to speak. But when you take a look at the blue line, how do they match up, Bob, with the United States and specifically Russia?
Well, I think we tend to get a little myopic in Canada when we start analyzing strengths and weaknesses, and we don't look at it on the broad base of the tournament. There's no question that the Canadian defense maybe isn't as strong as we'd like it to be, and maybe some of the players have various things like Blake's coming off a knee injury. You start going through the entire roster, and for one reason or another, maybe Scott Stevens hasn't played as well as he has of late. But when you start comparing the Canadian defense to some of the other defenses that are getting credit for being outstanding units, take a look, for example, at the U.S. There's no question the addition of Chris Chelios tonight will bolster that U.S. squad. Leach is a great offensive defenseman, but I saw him against the Russians on Friday night, and he has trouble with his defensive coverage. Matthew Schneider is in and out. Gary Suter, that's a good top four, and I like it. But I'll tell you what, Phil Housley is a poor man's Paul Coffey. The Hatcher brothers are prone to lots of giveaways, and Sean Chambers is a guy who, if he was on the Canadian team, would be considered very marginal. Scott Stevens has got to play well, obviously. Niedermeyer, Coffey. Desjardins, his health is once the groin injury, if he can come back from that, there's no question in my mind that the depth on the Canadian defense, even with Blake Foote, Odoline, Jovanovski, is every bit as good, if not better, than the U.S. team, and probably matches up better than the Russian defense. So I don't think that the problem with defense as a core is as bad on Canada as a lot of people have made it out to be. Team defense is what's going to win this tournament, and that means the forwards coming back and helping out.
And I know that you like the way they match up with the Russians as well. Now, there is another game taking place tonight as the Americans are in Providence, Rhode Island, playing host to Slovakia. And we should throw out a disclaimer. This one is not pretty, although it's a good start for the Americans as Chris Chelios takes the pregame skate. Doug Waite, sensational season last year, and he walks in with the backhander. They'll throw it top shelf. It's 1-0.
And then the route is on. That's a beautiful backhand by Doug Waite, Edmonton Oilers. Goes to 2-0 U.S. on the power play. Chelios over to Phil Housley. Phil Housley takes the shot, and John LeClair redirects it in front of the net. Big lead early on, 3-0 for the U.S.
Then in the second period of play, it's another great pass and a great play by Dougie Waite. He goes to Hull, the one-timer, empty net. He'll drill that one every time, 5-1 for the Americans. Dougie Waite then streaking in, will drop it for Phil Housley. What a pretty play, 6-1 for the U.S. team.
And the U.S. is well on the way. Turnover at the blue line. Picked up by Bill Guerin. Goes in all alone. The New Jersey Devil goes in. Makes a nice move to the forehand. Puts it in. The U.S. scores 4 goals in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. The route is on. They're now into third period action.
Bill Guerin, even with the one eye, still manages to get the goal. It was a little bit close, courtesy of Keith Primo. But this American team has showed a tremendous amount of grit, as we saw in the 2 exhibition games that they played against Canada.
Well, they do. They've got a lot of grit and they've got a lot of size. One of the questions about the American team, as you look at it on paper, and they seem to have answered it, is that they can score goals. You look at guys that they've got now, John LeClair, Brett Hull, Mike Modano, Keith Tkachuk. They've got some 50-goal scorers, some 40-goal men. And in the past, the Americans' downfall has been an inability to supply offense when they really need it. Now the question is, can they do it under the pressure of the tournament? A lot of times in the past, they've had the big scorers on paper, but they haven't been able to do it. That's going to be the challenge for the U.S. this year. They've got decent goaltending in Mike Richter. We talked about their defense. I'm not so sure it's as good as everybody says it is, although with Chelios added to it, it just got a lot better tonight.
They are a formidable team. There is no doubt about that. We will take a short break. You are watching Canada and Russia on TSN. Stay tuned.
The intermission is brought to you by Pepsi Stuff. People who drink it, get it. Ends October 31st.
This summer, TSN and Subway want you to put the fight on us to win. Win one of 6 weekly baseball or football prize packs, and all correct entries will qualify to win a grand prize trip to 2 World Series games or a trip to this year's Grey Cup game. Get an entry at participating Subway stores, then tune in and look for the Subway Bite during TSN baseball and CFL broadcasts, and mail in each week for a chance to win.
If you want full Office Suite power at a word processor price, look no further than Corel WordPerfect Suite. Corel WordPerfect Suite includes an exceptionally intelligent word processor, an award-winning spreadsheet, amazing presentation graphics, plus business graphics and utilities, hundreds of fonts and thousands of clip art images. Corel WordPerfect Suite delivers Office Suite power at a word processor price.
A diamond engagement ring is the ultimate symbol of a lasting partnership. Enter the Perfect Partners Perfect Diamonds contest at People's Jewelers. You and your partner could win a diamond engagement ring and a trip to Florida. Or you could win one of 3 $1,500 diamond solitaire necklaces. Pick up a contest entry at People's Jewelers. Name the sports partners matched with a sport in which they compete and deposit your entry in the ballot box at any People's store. Like a perfect partnership, a diamond is forever.
Here's our play of the period, and it's brought to you by Bauer. Midway through the first period, Canada with a great scoring chance, 2-on-1.
What's Vincent Damphousse doing? Passing the puck to Wayne Gretzky's backhand. Damphousse had a clear path to the net, should have shot the puck.
This was almost worth the goal. Ed Jovanovski absolutely hammers Oleg Tverdovsky, but the puck goes to Alexei Zhamnov, who finishes it off. That is our play of the period, and it's brought to you by Bauer. Leave an impression. Canada down by 2. The second period still to come.
If you want full Office Suite power at a word processor price, look no further than Corel WordPerfect Suite. Corel WordPerfect Suite includes an exceptionally intelligent word processor, an award-winning spreadsheet, amazing presentation graphics, plus business graphics and utilities, hundreds of fonts and thousands of clip art images. Corel WordPerfect Suite delivers Office Suite power at a word processor price.
With 25% more power, 16-inch wheels, dual airbags, and 4-wheel anti-lock brakes, it's one affordable luxury 4x4. The new Suzuki Sidekick Sport. Lease one now for only $299 a month. For a discovery drive, call your participating dealer today. Suzuki. Ask anyone who owns one.
Did it? Oh! Car not riding as smoothly as you'd like? Well, suspension trouble could be in your struts, your shock, your springs, or your alignment. So, head over to Midas for a free inspection. They'll show you in writing not just what's wrong, but what needs fixing now and what can wait. That way, you get some choice in the matter. It's better than getting jerked around. Midas, the way it should be. Oh, big fella. Oh.
Russia leads Canada 3-1 after one period of play in this World Cup pre-tournament game. Team Canada opened the scoring. Vincent Damphousse from Wayne Gretzky and Theoren Fleury at 6:50 made it 1-0, but then the Russians came back to score 3 straight. On the power play, Alexei Zhamnov tied the game at 1 at 11:56, and then later in the period, 2 quick goals. First, Alexei Kovalev at 17:48 made it 2-1, and then 36 seconds later, Andrei Kovalenko from Oleg Tverdovsky made it 3-1 Russia. Shots on goal 9-6 in favor of Canada in that first period. Russia was 1 for 3 on the power play. The first period summary brought to you by Bauer. Back here with Ryan Walter. Ryan, you know Team Canada will want to have a physical presence against the Russians in the tournament, but there's a delicate balance there too, isn't there? We saw that on one of the Russian goals.
Yeah, you don't want to step out of position to create that big hit. Certainly, watch here. Tverdovsky's got the puck, and Ed Jovanovski with the great big hit there, but it creates his offensive chance, and Alexei Zhamnov fills the hole and fills the net.
Now the question for Team Canada, I suppose, is can they afford to run around against the Russians, or do you have to sit back and let them come to you? Because that seems to be what no one wants to do.
I like your point, or your word, balance. I mean, you've got to watch. It's got to be a disciplined approach. You want to be aggressive but disciplined. I think you'll see that as this tournament moves forward.
Also interesting, too, Wayne Gretzky made the point that the Canadians have to be solid behind their own blue line, but creative up front. Did you see that?
Yeah, we did. I like the way that the Canadian team cycled the puck down low against the Russians. I thought that was effective, and they really created some offense from that, Gord. But again, will turnovers be a factor both ways? I think they will in the neutral zone.
So Team Canada is down 3-1 after one period in this hockey game. Back with the second when our coverage continues from Calgary in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Sparky Anderson. Tune in to TSN's Blue Jays telecast and watch for my on-the-ball features. Brought to you by Gillette's $250,000 Triple Play Challenge. Coming soon to a retailer near you.
Face it, no other razor shaves closer or with more comfort than Gillette Sensor XL. No razor is better.
When you need a sealant that's got to stick, Mono Ultra does the trick. Mono Ultra. When it calls for the best, the choice is clear. There won't be anything like it for years. Mono Ultra. It works in the sun. It works in your shower. You wash up with water and hang it in an hour. Whatever the kitchen surface, nothing sticks to the job like Mono Ultra. And it's mildew-proof in the bathroom. Mono Ultra. Get the Mono.
Back in Calgary for the second period, Russia leading Canada 3-1 after 20 minutes of play. When he last played in a Canada Cup in 1991, Eric Lindros had just graduated from high school the spring before. Now people think he'll lead Canada in the next century. He says, don't put the whole load on me.
Well, I think everybody has to be a leader. You know, it takes 20 leaders to have a winning hockey club, and I think we've got nine captains from our club teams, you know, on the squad. You know, I might be wearing an A, but you know, I'm there to learn, and you know, sometimes when there's one of the meetings with the captain, I just kind of, you know, slide in the back door and just kind of put my ear to what's going on a little bit, and you know, live and learn, and it's been terrific. I've got a lot to learn as a you know, growing into a captain, with the captain's responsibility, and hopefully you know, I could take something out of this tournament.
Eric Lindros, the only player on the Canadian team who's played in the World Junior Championship, the World Championship, the Olympics, and the Canada Cup. A wealth of international experience for number 88, whose 115 points last year were a career high. So were his 47 goals. It's hard to believe Eric Lindros is 23 and will begin his 5th NHL season in about a month. So we open the second period with Darius Kasparaitis and Pat Verbeek in the penalty box. And Russia leading Canada by a score of 3-1 in this, the second to last pre-tournament game for Team Canada before things begin for real later this week at GM Place in Vancouver. And Lindros is out there against Igor Larionov. The team's playing 4-on-4. Keith Primeau gets it ahead for Lindros. Eric Lindros across the line, quickly takes the shot, and Andrei Trefilov is forced to very quickly make the stop on Eric Lindros, who steamrolls across the line and unloads that hard shot.
Well, the Russian defenseman Igor Kravchuk follows the puck here. Right there around Kravchuk, and he does get lots of steam on that shot. Gord Trefilov, it hits him midsection, he drops on it, but Lindros got lots on it.
Lindros wins the draw back to the point. Scott Stevens in behind the net for Lindros. Alexei Zhetnik trying to work on Lindros the best he can. And Lindros now. Look at him fight off Zhetnik. And now back to the point. Keith Primeau with a shot deflected by Lindros just wide. Lindros still with it. Lost the puck now to Slava Kozlov. And Eric Lindros is hurt at the Canadian blue line. Eric Lindros is down and now crawls to the Canadian bench. And grave concern for Eric Lindros. Puck is picked up by Vincent Damphousse for Scott Stevens. Across the line for Vincent Damphousse. Leaves it there for Gretzky. A hard shot off the leg and rolls wide. Scott Niedermayer for Damphousse. For Gretzky, his pass is intercepted by Slava Kozlov. Eric Lindros now heading to the Canadian dressing room. We'll get a report for you as soon as we can. Oleg Tverdovsky for Alexander Mogilny. Mogilny takes a whack on the way by. And Mogilny centers it there for Oleg Tverdovsky. His backhand shot bounces wide. Now Tverdovsky's shot blocked by Wayne Gretzky. And the pass is sent back into the corner for Alexei Zhamnov. And Paul Coffey whacks Alexei Zhamnov. A penalty coming to Canada. Vladimir Malakov takes the shot. Scott Niedermayer trying to come up with the puck. Can't do it yet. Mogilny. Russians have the extra skater on. The puck shot through the crease. Now Tverdovsky back for Kovalenko. Canada can't get possession. Here's Mogilny. Back to the point to Kasparaitis. And Wayne Gretzky finally touches the puck, and as Eric Lindros has gone to the Canadian bench and dressing room with an injury, Paul Coffey will go off for slashing Alexei Zhamnov. But of prime concern right now for Canada is Eric Lindros' injury, and it happened right in front of the Canadian bench.
Yeah, Sergei Gonchar goes really high on Lindros, and he takes the stick and the glove up into Lindros' face, and I think that's the problem there. And here's the slash right here by Coffey. I don't know, Gordon, unless we get another look at that. It didn't look as dangerous as it did the first time. Paul Coffey concerned about that one. Wayne Gretzky was upset too at Dan Marawelli. Didn't really get the stick up at all. I thought it was a lot higher on Zhamnov. And certainly Didn't look like that one might not be a penalty. Now here's a good look at the Lindros. Sergei Gonchar gets the stick, the butt end of the stick up into Lindros' face. And that's what creates a problem for Eric Lindros.
Now, the Russians on the power play with Paul Coffey in the penalty box. The Russians scored a power play goal in the opening period. Here comes Alexei Yashin. He's out there with Kovalev and Valerie Bure, number 18. Mark Messier picks up the puck off the glass, loses it to Valerie Bure. Now here's Yashin, centering pass, broken up by Scott Niedermayer. Kovalev working around the point. This is Zhitnik. Kovalev in behind the net. Adam Foote gets there first for Canada, tries to tie up two Russian players. Niedermayer plays it to an open wing. Dmitry Yushkevich, and now Adam Foote is battling down there with Alexei Kovalev. Zhitnik for Bure. Adam Foote doesn't have a stick. Valerie Bure centering pass, and Mark Messier comes back to help out Adam Foote and send the puck down the ice.
Smart play by Martin Brodeur, too, to get his stick out there in absence of Adam Foote's stick.
Eric Lindros is back on the Canadian bench. And you can bet he'll be looking for some revenge when he gets back out there. Now Larionov trying to poke the puck ahead. Kept in by Vyacheslav Kozlov. Slava to his teammates. And the puck is shot down. 30 seconds to go with the penalty to Paul Coffey. Here's Kovalenko. Trevor Linden was knocked down. No penalty. Now Kovalenko dumps it off for Igor Larionov. And Larionov back to the point to Darius Kasparaitis. For Larionov, using Dan Marawelli as a screen. Back to the point. Kasparaitis is shot just wide. Rod Brindamore clears it, but not out. And finally, Trevor Linden taps it down the ice as the penalty to Paul Coffey expired. Coffey back on the ice. Now McGillney slides it back for Sergei Gonchar. Here's Larionov across the line. End of a long shift for Larionov, and he'll head off. Scott Stevens almost had that pass intercepted. And now the Canadians regroup. Vincent Damphousse ahead for Theoren Fleury. Fleury working around Oleg Tverdovsky. Fleury has Yzerman with him. And Fleury is tied up along the boards. The puck is cleared ahead. Oleg Tverdovsky. Now Fleury knocks down Alexander Semak. And Malikov back to get it for the Russians. Here's Sergei Berezin, number 20. Berezin. And Eric Lindros is back out there for Canada and looking to stir something up. Long, soft shot taken by Semak, and the stop is made by Trepalov. 15:02 to play in the second period. Russia leads Canada 3-1.
Introducing a new luxury vehicle with the most powerful V8 in its class, the safety of dual airbags, and the ability to take you where no luxury car can. The new Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. With over 40 major advancements, it's truly the perfect luxury vehicle for whatever nature unveils.
TSN is proud to present the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. Tonight's second period is brought to you by Chrysler Canada. We're not just building cars, we're building Canada.
Welcome back to Calgary, where the fans are trying to cheer Canada back in it. And we have a guest in the booth with us here. On my left is Ryan Walter. I'm at center, and on the right is Brendan Shanahan, out of the lineup for Canada tonight, taking a little breather. Brendan, first of all, has this game gone pretty much the way you would have expected with the physical tone that Team Canada's been setting?
I think as the game goes on, we'll set more of a physical tone and hopefully wear them down. They've got a couple bounces there late in the first period, and it's up to us to change momentum, get back in our favor.
And Eric Lindros out there now certainly plays a major role in that. Saw you limping at the morning skate this morning. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just a little night off, rest up, get ready for the big one next Thursday.
How tough to come back and play this quickly after a short training camp?
Well, for me, I had quite a break, so I was ready for hockey.
There's Scott Niedermayer picking it up. His New Jersey Devils missed the playoffs this year, a year after winning the Stanley Cup. And Niedermeyer, being hooked from behind, sends it ahead for Eric Lindros. Lindros has Claude Lemieux with him. Lindros gets hooked off the puck by Dmitry Yushkevich, his former teammate. Now Yushkevich almost got low bridged by Lindros. Lemieux with it. Claude Lemieux. Here's Ed Jovanovski pitching up. Jovanovski, surrounded by Russian players, sends it back to Scott Niedermeyer. Lindros just missed the pass from Keith Primo. Now Lindros with it behind the net for Claude Lemieux. Back pass now for Jovanovski pinching in. And Jovanovski now hustles back to his blue line spot, but not before he picks up this pass. And Jovanovski working on Alexei Zhamnov, gets it to Lindros, centering pass, just knocked wide. Now Niedermeyer a shot, Trefilov knocks it wide. Loose puck in front, and Dmitry Yushkevich fights off Claude Lemieux, and Yushkevich will get a penalty for bringing Claude Lemieux down in the corner, and those two now get their sticks up. And Team Canada will get a power play opportunity here with 13:56 to go in the second period. Brendan, this is supposed to be a World Cup pre-tournament game. Looks pretty intense out there.
Well, you just knew when Eric came back, you could tell just with that short shift he had before that one there that he was going to stir something up. There was either going to be a goal, a penalty our way, or a penalty their way, and we had certainly a few chances, and we drew a penalty.
You played for Team Canada in '91 in the Canada Cup. How would you compare the characteristics of this team to that team in '91? This is more physical.
I think that the team, the character of the team is still developing, and that's what these games are for. The battles that you go in, you win and lose in these exhibition games, that's what develops the team chemistry and the team character.
If you're looking, sorry, Gordon, Brent, if you're looking at an opposition, who do you fear most? This team out here, Team Russia or Team USA?
I'd say both teams for different reasons.
And you know, of course, Jeremy Roenick and Chris Chelios are playing tonight for the U.S., and look at this. Sergei Gonchar is bound to be a marked man tonight. He's the guy who got his butt end up earlier on Eric Lindros, and so now Kovalev's in it with Pat Verbeek. Now, isn't that ironic? Former teammates with the Rangers.
Well, I think if the Russians want to play the game this way, certainly the Canadians, this will be very comfortable for the Canadians. It's something that we'd like to set a tone, especially considering they're our first opponents on Thursday.
There'll obviously be tremendous anticipation for that game, and no doubt some of the tone being set tonight is deliberate, is it not?
Well, definitely. That's part of the exhibition. That's what exhibition is for. We don't get a chance to see these guys, and as I mentioned before, this is how you bring a team together. Right now you see some guys marking that Gonchar kid. He's the one who butt-ended Eric Lindros about 5 minutes ago, so it's good to see the team out there backing up Eric.
Were you surprised right off the bat, Brendan, when you guys played Team USA? I mean, it was intense from the minute go. Were you surprised at that as an exhibition game?
Not really. I think the players, especially the ones who have played in other Canada Cups, I played in '91, we knew what to expect. The fans, I think, were very surprised. A lot of people came up to me and commented on the intensity of the game. There's a lot of competition, a lot of animosity, and a lot of pressure on both the Canadian and American team. We see these guys a lot. Certainly, some of them are our teammates, but once we put on that home country uniform, everything changes.
Certainly not an all-star game. It's not a tic-tac-toe. There's lots of contact.
Lots of contact, and I can tell you from my experiences in the dressing room, in this short exhibition schedule so far, there's some rivalries developing.
You know, there's been a lot of talk as we look at Wayne Gretzky about the torch being passed to younger Canadian players who will play in the Olympics in '98 and beyond. Do you get the sense that lessons are being learned here by some younger players from people like Coffey, Messier, and Gretzky?
Well, they definitely have the experience, and they've got a presence that they walk into a room and you just see the leadership exude from them. So certainly we've got a lot of younger players that right now are being called upon to take a major role in this tournament, but at the same time, we've got some great leaders that have played a long time that we can learn from.
Brendan, how about the new face-off alignment, the line alignment? Have you talked about that, and how's that been as an adjustment?
Well, the guys have talked about it. From what I hear from the centermen, it favors a big guy like Eric here who can still lean in and get over top of that dot. A guy like Steve Yzerman was telling me that it's a little bit tougher on the smaller players to get that leverage.
Lindros wins the draw cleanly. Back to Steve Yzerman, actually, who plays the point in this Canadian power play. Yushkevich gets the extra penalty. And the loose puck in front. Trefilov able to knock it away. Coffey back at the point. Coffey scored! Paul power play, and Canada trails 3-2.
Well, Paul Coffey keeps this puck really low because he's trying to set up the tip right there by Lindros, but it goes by him, and it goes posting in. Coffey with the low tippable shot, but that goes posting in. Great positioning by Eric Lindros right in front of Andrei Trefilov. Not much chance by Trefilov to even see the puck.
The only defenseman in the top 30 all-time in NHL scoring, Paul Coffey, has brought Canada within a goal. Coffey, the all-time leading scorer among NHL defensemen with 1,410 points. And he's 8th on the NHL's all-time scoring list. Unassisted at 633, and Canada trails by a score of 3-2. Our thanks to Brendan Shanahan for joining us upstairs. Best of luck in the rest of the tournament. Back with more from Calgary right after this.
NEBS is a direct marketer. Things like checks and forms and business cards and labels. You know, being in a small town doesn't hinder our business at all. The majority of our customers use either the Advantage toll-free phone or fax lines.
And really, the 1-800 lines are the lifeline between us and our customers. We've had an increase of about 35%.
If our 1-800 lines went down, we'd be out of business.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
It's out there. Esso Supreme 92 Octane. For a cleaner engine while you drive. A smooth feeling of power. Esso Supreme 92. Unleash the performance. With Esso.
Welcome back to Calgary. It was sweltering outside today, 30 degrees Celsius. It's August, but it feels like hockey inside. Canada and Russia, with the Russians leading the Canadians 3-2. And now we'll have a penalty to Vyacheslav Kozlov, who brought down Theoren Fleury. And Team Canada, just after scoring the power play goal, will get another chance with the man advantage as Kozlov joins Gonchar and Kovalev in the rushing penalty box. They went off, Gonchar and Kovalev, with Messier and Verbeek in that scrum a couple of minutes ago. Canada is 1 for 3 on the power play. Vyacheslav Kozlov scored a career-high 36 goals last year and was a tremendous presence for the Detroit Red Wings.
Kozlov had lined up with Theoren Fleury. You wondered, Gord, if there wasn't words there. And Fleury obviously got taken down by Kozlov.
Now here's Fleury, tees it up, and Trefilov knocks it wide. Here's Gretzky with it now. Wayne Gretzky, backhand shot, a soft one, and Malikov is able to backhand that out of the zone and into the Canadian bench. 1:47 to go, and the penalty to Vyacheslav Kozlov. And there's Andrei Trefilov, the former Calgary Flame, who didn't play hockey from 1983 to 86. He quit the game completely, came back, and is now a member of the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, Andrei Trefilov also in Russia played on a pickup team for 30 rubles a month for a while and worked hard and is now playing for Team Russia in the National Hockey League. It's a great story.
Lindros is out there with Gretzky and Fleury on the power play. Steve Yzerman and Paul Coffey are back at the point. And again, Lindros wins the draw cleanly. So Brendan Shanahan's point is well made about the new face-off alignment. Here's Gretzky for Coffey as the last Canadian goal. Here's Gretzky teeing it up, deflected in front by Lindros. The stop is made. Now Gretzky again. Coffey. Soft shot in front. Fleury tipped it wide. Jamnov got it ahead for McGillney, and Alexander McGillney clears it down the ice. Paul Coffey. His long lead pass too far for Danfus there, and Fleury almost got it on a breakaway. Now Canada regroups, and Paul Coffey wires it around the boards. Here's Gretzky. Leaves it there for Danfus. Vincent Danfus with a shot. Trefilov the save. Back to the point to Steve Yzerman. To Paul Coffey. 50 seconds to go in the Canadian power play. Coffey for Yzerman. Yzerman lost the puck in his skates. Now a foot race for it. Dmitry Yushkevich wins that battle. And Yushkevich clears it out. Now McGillney poaching up there deep and almost took the puck from Yzerman. Here's Gretzky with it. Gretzky, 3 Canadians in front of the net. Gretzky with a shot, it deflects wide. And Andrei Nikolishin knocks the puck down into the Canadian zone. 25 seconds to go on the power play.
And a great look at the patience of Wayne Gretzky to hang on to that puck. Many others would have shot seconds before.
Here's Damphousse. Adam Graves streaks to the front of the net. Couldn't get the pass. Kasparaitis. Rob Blake keeps it in for Canada. Here's Damphousse. Back to the point to Rob Blake. Over for Scott Niedermayer. Soft shot. Trefilov saw it all the way and made the stop. Kozlov is out of the penalty box looking for the long lead pass. Now Alexei Yashin brings it across the line. Yashin. Cross ice shot. The save is made. Igor Kravchuk with a hard shot on Martin Brodeur. Kasparaitis from the other side. His shot. And it hit Rob Blake in the crease and a penalty coming. And it looks as though it'll be Rob Blake who will be called for hauling down the Russian player in the Canadian crease. And Dan Maroli calls a high stick on Rob Blake, the pride of Simcoe, Ontario.
Rob Blake is in front of the net. You can see just off screen. And there is the high stick on Vladislav Kozlov. As Kozlov's heading to the front of the net because of that shot there, Blake takes him down. Martin Brodeur does a good job of grabbing the puck. Not sure where it is, but he gathers it up. Blake has played very well. You know, Gord, after you come back from that type of knee injury, it's been 10 months really since he's played any competitive hockey. And Blake told us in Vancouver, the key is his mind. Feels good about the injury now.
Malikov fan on the shot. The Russians are 1 for 4 on the power play. Rod Brindamore's out there to start the penalty kill with Mark Messier. And Messier would have leveled Malikov had he not unloaded the puck. Now Tverdovsky had it knocked down by Brindamore. Picked up by Malikov. Vladimir Malikov of the Montreal Canadiens. And now Oleg Tverdovsky sends it to the front of the net. A sliding Martin Brodeur saw that go wide. Kozlov with Larionov and Kovalenko. Now Malikov shot hit Brindamore's stick and went wide. Kozlov with it. Back to Malikov. His shot in front. Brodeur saw that. Hangs on with the glove. And with 1:16 to go on the penalty to Rob Blake, we'll have a face-off in the Canadian zone.
In front of Martin Brodeur, the Canadian team is doing a good job of setting up a diamond on their penalty kill. In other words, they're taking away, watch here, Messier will take away the top shot, even though that shot's a wrist shot through, but Brodeur has no problem with it.
Martin Brodeur set the National Hockey League record for minutes played by a goaltender last year. Very busy man for the New Jersey Devils. And Mark Messier out there now with Alexei Zhamnov, and Canadian fans trying to urge their team on. Exactly halfway through the second period, Russia leads Canada 3-2. Canada has outshot the Russians 17-10 so far in the hockey game. Zhitnik playing catch with Nikolishin. Nikolishin gets it back. Yushkevich got it back to Zhitnik. Now Canada with Messier and Lindros. Messier in front for Lindros, and his deflection is stopped by Trefilov. The Russians bring it back quickly the other way. 3-on-1. McGillney. McGillney tees it up. Brodeur the save. Scott Stevens picks up the rebound for Canada. 40 seconds to go on the penalty, and the Canadians cleared down the ice to get fresh penalty killers out there.
Adam Foote was up ice on that 3-on-1 with Lindros and Messier. He really hustled to get back to create that good defensive play.
And the puck is once again cleared down into the Russian zone, this time by Adam Graves, who's out there with Vincent Damphousse. Here comes Sergei Berezin. Berezin poke checked it first by Niedermayer, but got it past him. Berezin centering pass. Kasparaitis picks it up. Kovalenko with it. Good pass now for Alexander Semak, who centers it through the crease. Time winding down on the Canadian penalty. And that pass for Berezin broken up by Paul Coffey. And Coffey is able to clear it out just as Rob Blake steps on the ice for Canada. 2 shots on that power play for the Russians. And Semak knocks it down into the Canadian zone. Here is Scott Niedermayer for Paul Coffey. Coffey Clears it to an open wing and quickly heads off the ice. Darius Kasparaitis saw Gretzky coming and quickly cleared it away, but Fleury picks it up. Now Berezin at the end of a long shift out there for the Russians. Berezin across the line. Leaves the drop pass there for Semak, who got crushed up along the boards by Fleury. Now Kovalenko. He hammered Keith Primo. And the puck is cleared down into the Russian zone. Vladimir Malikov being watched by Wayne Gretzky. And being hooked by Gretzky, who almost picked it up. Now Malikov loses it to Gretzky. Scoop pass for Fleury. And just too far for Primo. Primo behind the net for Wayne Gretzky. Tverdovsky clears it ahead. Alexei Yashin got hammered by Primo. Now Kovalev. Drop pass broken up neatly by Rob Blake. Good end-to-end action here in Calgary. Ed Jovanovski took a bump up along the boards. Play is called. It was offside. 7:30 to go in the second period. 3-2 Russia leads.
Air Canada, premier sponsor of Canadian hockey. Backing the teams, the players, and their passion for hockey. Watching our future superstars take off. For over 25 years, we've been in on the action. The excitement of hockey in Canada, from midget to junior to pro. And they've shown us that if you want something bad enough, there's no limit to how far you can go. Air Canada, official airline of Canada's national passion.
The 26 players on Team Canada's roster have scored a combined 5,189 goals. They have scored more than 14,000 career points. They've won 32 Stanley Cups. They've won 17 Canada Cups. And last year, they made more than $80 million Canadian between them. Barry Stafford, one of the Canadian trainers, was joking earlier that perhaps the most difficult thing to do on the Canadian team is to handle the safe deposit box before the game. There's a lot of expensive jewelry that goes in there. And Martin Brodeur is the proud owner of a Stanley Cup ring, won with the Devils 2 years ago. Martin Brodeur won a silver medal for Canada at the 1996 World Championship in Vienna past spring. Oleg Tverdovsky is back to get it. He's out there with Vladimir Malikov, two offensive defensemen, and Linden picks it up for Canada. Linden back to the point for Scott Niedermayer. His pass bounces right to Steve Yzerman. Back to the point to Scott Stevens. Now Brind'Amour behind the net. Rod Brind'Amour. Worked over by Malikov. Now Linden behind the net. In front for Yzerman, who shot it just wide. Now Linden battling for the puck. Lindman's there for Yzerman. Now Linden to the front of the net. Stevens with a shot off the side of the net. Yzerman had his pass stolen by Igor Larionov. And Andrei Kovalenko will knock it down the ice as the Russians relieve the pressure. Scott Niedermayer back to touch it. 6:38 to play in the second period, and Team Canada pushing for the equalizer.
Well, the Rod Brind'Amour, Trevor Linden duo have played with Steve Yzerman here tonight. Joe Sakic in previous games, but excellent pressure right here. Look at Yzerman turn and fire. Now give Andrei Trepilov some credit there for his concentration. He followed that puck right onto Steve Yzerman's stick. Good release by Yzerman, just a little bit wide.
Messier leaves the draw there for Verbeek, who takes a shot. Trepilov got a pad on it. Messier battling at the side of the net along with Adam Graves. Now Verbeek. Coffey pitches up, sends it to the front of the net. That's deflected high and wide by Graves. Graves behind the net. Trying to work to the front. Jitnik knocked it away. Adam Graves to the front of the net, just out of the reach of Pat Verbeek. And the Russians again forced to clear it out, and Adam Foote hammered Andrei Nikolishin as he cleared the puck out. And Mark Messier, who's been known to jar a few Russians in his day, sent it ahead, and I'll tell you what, Pat Verbeek got hammered there by Andrei Nikolishin. Great physical play in a World Cup pre-tournament game. Zhamnov centers it, McGillney shot, blocked by Adam Foote, it's hurt. Adam Foote scoops it up, and blocking that shot appears to have hurt Adam Foote of the Colorado Avalanche. And this is the last thing Team Canada needs to see. Adam Foote was plus 11 in Colorado's Stanley Cup run last spring.
Well, Foote certainly took this shot. It was a one-timer. And I think that it probably increases the velocity a little bit. Foot took it straight on. He's in some pain.
Adam Foote, a native of Toronto, in his 6th year in the National Hockey League already. And this is his first international competition. And Adam Foote is up, and you can see him limping noticeably as athletic therapist Ken Lowe of the Edmonton Oilers, and yes, he's the brother of Kevin Lowe, helps him off the ice.
Well, you were talking about the smile on Ed Jovanovski's face when he got to play tonight. Adam Foote, he had a smile on his face in Vancouver coming out of that training camp in Whistler. He told me he was really excited to be on this team.
Well, I'll tell you who's concerned about Adam Foote is his coach, Mark Crawford. Now, Crawford's having a laugh as he goes off, so Foote must be all right. But the last thing Crawford wants to see is one of the steadiest defensemen for his Stanley Cup champion team get hurt. 5:44 to go here in the second period. Canada has outshot the Russians by a 2-1 margin in the middle period. Lindros lost the draw cleanly that time. Back to the point to Gonchar. His shot is stopped by Martin Brodeur. Lindros ties up his man. Rob Blake now battles for it with Berezin. And Jovanovski gets it ahead for Claude Lemieux. And Claude Lemieux couldn't find the puck at his feet and just now found it. Claude Lemieux got so turned around there he almost slashed himself. And now here's Lemieux waiting for Lindros to get onside. And Lemieux flips it down and behind the Russian goal. Here's Lindros with it. Turnover by the Russians. Lindros, front of the net. Lemieux tips it just wide. Claude Lemieux sends it back for Jovanovski. The puck went by him, and Rob Blake hustles back. Kovalenko makes it a foot race. Blake, Berezin picks it up along the boards. Kovalenko with it, and Claude Lemieux got him, and Claude Lemieux will get nabbed. Andrei Kovalenko picked up the loose puck and forced Claude Lemieux to take a penalty. Russia leads Canada 3-2.
There is a girl being born in America, and somebody will tell her she is beautiful, and somebody will tell her she is strong. Somebody will tell her she's precious, and somebody will say she is tough. There's a girl being born in America, and someone will give her a doll, and someone will give her a ball, and then someone will give her a chance.
Claude Lemieux gets penalized again for Team Canada. And his second penalty of the game comes as Andrei Kovalenko stole the puck and Lemieux had little choice.
You can see Lemieux there. Anytime you take your hand off the stick and make a grab, you know there's going to be a penalty called. Lemieux was hoping to get away with it. Now, Claude Lemieux, it's interesting. We were talking about him playing with Lindros. Eric Lindros said, anybody I can't stand playing against, I like to play with. And I guess that's why he's playing with that guy right there, Claude Lemieux.
And Eric Lindros, interestingly enough, watching the scoreboard and watching highlights of the 1984 Canada Cup. So Lindros, who was only 12 years old when the 84 Canada Cup was played. Is that unbelievable or what? Watching the video. He wasn't born when Paul Henderson scored the goal in '72. Rod Brindamore lost the puck. Valerie Bure for Alexei Kovalev. And now Scott Niedermayer able to send it down the ice to kill off part of this penalty. Oleg Tverdovsky retreats to get it. Tverdovsky did not score a goal for the Winnipeg Jets after being acquired from Anaheim. 31 games, no goals, 8 assists. Here comes Yashin in behind the Canadian goal. Back for Bure, who leaves it there for Tverdovsky. For Valerie Bure. The young Russians are out there now. And Yashin's centering pass is intercepted by Rod Brindamore. And Brindamore sends it down the ice. Alexei Kovalev is circling way up by the Canadian blue line, in behind all the Canadian defenders. And Adam Foote watches him closely as he comes back after blocking that shot. Bure for Alexei Yashin. Bure got knocked down. And now Vincent Damphousse breaks away with it. Canada 3 wide. Yzerman with Foote. Damphousse for Adam Foote. And Foote appears to be just fine as he comes back and takes part in the 2-on-1. Now the centering pass for Mark Messier. The shot just wide. Mark Messier with a great short-handed chance for Canada. Now Vincent Damphousse tries to set it deep for Messier, but he was going the other way, and you heard Damphousse cry out.
Good play by Alexei Yashin to deflect that Messier shot. Otherwise, that could have been very dangerous.
25 seconds to go on the penalty to Claude Lemieux. Here's Paul Coffey. Coffey can't chip it out. Yushkevich sends it to the front of the net. Kovalev couldn't knock it down. Kovalev being worked on by Coffey. Now Larionov back to the point. Alexei Zhitnik, lots of time. A shot stuck by Brodeur. Larionov with it. Back to the point. Yushkevich with a shot just wide. Rebound. The puck is still loose behind the net. Kovalev can't center it. Adam Foote knocks it away. Now Larionov. Back for Kozlov. The puck hit a skate. Graves trying to find it, and Adam Graves finally falls on the puck, but Dan Marilwali won't play dead. Now finally the puck comes out, and Claude Lemieux back out there picks up the puck in the corner. Dmitry Yushkevich has two Canadians on him. Claude Lemieux just about got to him. Now Kozlov, the pass too far for him, and Claude Lemieux wiped out Alexei Zhitnik along the boards. Sergei Gonchar being watched by his opposite number, Keith Primo. Now Zhamnov, long lead pass, broken up by Niedermeyer. Claude Lemieux steps in, he gets knocked down by Zhitnik. Now Lindros with a centering pass, and just unable to tip it in is Keith Primo. Tremendous pace to the hockey game, good hitting, and great offensive chances. Wow.
There's not too many times you'll see forwards attack the net like Keith Primo attacks the backside of this net. Good pass here. Look at the hit. Lindros knows that Primo's there. He gives him the puck, and that's just deflected up into the stands. But boy, watch Primo come on the backside here. Good play by Lindros to get his head up. And Primo, I'm telling you, he almost gets it.
And Keith Primo involved at the side of the net. Keith Primo was one of 6 first-round picks from 1990 who was playing in the World Cup. Peter Nedved, Jaromir Jagr, Darian Hatcher, Keith Tkachuk, and Brian Smolinski are the others. Remember that big 5 drafted in Vancouver? Jaromir Jagr, Keith Primo, Nedved. It was a tremendous draft class, and Owen Nolan went #1 overall.
I remember watching that on TV, Gordon, the big applause when Peter Nedved, who played in Seattle, his junior hockey in Seattle, was taken by the Vancouver Canucks.
Mike Ricci, by the way, the other member of that top 5 class in 1990. And there's Claude Lemieux, an underrated goal scorer. 39 goals for Colorado last year. He's always had a good touch around the net, especially in the playoffs. Remember, he was the playoff MVP in New Jersey's Stanley Cup run last year and won the Stanley Cup in back-to-back years with different teams. A rare accomplishment. And now the shot right on by Scott Stevens, stopped by Trefilov. Under 2 minutes to play here in the second period. Lindros gets up and Primo on the wraparound, stopped by Trefilov. Canada's outshot the Russians 21-13. Lindros centers it. Lemieux backhand, stopped by Trefilov, his best of the game. Lemieux had him going the wrong way, but Trefilov stuck the pad out. Great hitting in this hockey game. Eric Lindros got Gonchar back for the butt end earlier. Now Zhamnov for Nikolitin. He gets bumped by Scott Niedermeyer. Now Kevin Stephen loses the puck. And Claude Lemieux is back to pick it up. Vincent Damphousse can't knock it down. Gonchar clears it out of the zone, and Gonchar got hammered again by Lindros. Now here comes Zhamnov. Zhamnov centers it. Martin Brodeur hangs on, and Gonchar got the first one in, but I'll tell you what, Eric Lindros has his revenge with 3 thundering hits and a standing ovation here in Calgary. Don't mess with 88.
Oh, Eric Lindros is so strong. Sergei Gonchar sees him coming too. When you get the train coming at you, I gotta tell you, he's got him in his sights right here. He just turned, and there's the first hit. Kasparaitis goes after Lindros and falls down and trying to retaliate.
You know what's amazing about Lindros? He's been in the National Hockey League for 4 years now. In the dressing room today, he walked through with just a towel wrapped around him. Remember, he's 6'4", 230, and not an ounce of fat on him. And even players who have seen him before marvel at the physique of Eric Lindros.
We were talking about how effective Lindros is on the faceoff because of that strength. He is, you know, if you think of one word that might describe his game, certainly it's complete. The other word might be impact.
Time winding down to the second. Here comes Mark Messier. His pass for Paul Coffey, and Coffey shoots it into the corner. Kozlov loses it to Adam Graves. Wraparound backhand shot. Trefilov the save. Loose puck in front. Paul Coffey pitching up to get it. And Coffey wins the battle with Lariano. Now side of that. Graves backhand shot. Rebound. Trefilov another save. And Pat Verbeek standing right on top of him. And more pushing and shoving breaks out. Look at Mark Messier. Messier wants Kovalenko. Adam Graves,
middle of that.
Adam Graves is tied up too, I think, with Oleg Tverdovsky. Here's another guy you don't want to mess with.
Well, both Graves and Messier were right in front of Andrei Trefilov, and it was amazing to see Trefilov stand in there. Normally a goaltender will go off to the corner, but Trefilov continues to get involved. Certainly Messier and Graves were very involved. Paul Coffey will come back screen right here, and he begins it. There's the hit by Coffey. The response, we've got Messier and Graves involved. Trefilov, look, he's looking to try and get his man.
If you think back, too, to the 1984 Canada Cup, an infamous moment from Mark Messier, an elbow on a young player named Vladimir Kovan in Edmonton in the round robin that laid him out for about 10 minutes. It was a vicious hit, by all accounts, and it certainly sent a message, and Mark Messier has not been forgotten since. Interesting story about Messier, you know, they talk about the look from Mark Messier. Yesterday, a young 7-year-old boy was the winner of the Experience the Dream, went into the Canadian dressing room, and Bill Tuelli, the Canadian public relations man, said, "Come over and meet Mark Messier." He said, "Mark," and Messier looked up with that look, and the young guy ran away yelling. So they finally brought him back. Messier signed a stick. He gave the kid the stick. The kid walked away and said, "He scares me."
Well, that look has scared a lot of players in the National Hockey League, so welcome to the club, little guy.
Mark Messier, one of the most decorated players in hockey, 6 Stanley Cup wins. He's a 3-time Canada Cup winner. His 47 goals last year were the most he's scored in 13 years, and he got his 500th last year against the Calgary Flames. He also moved into 5th on the NHL's all-time scoring list, 1 point ahead of Stan Mikita.
Well, there's a name from the past. Scored the first face-off I ever took in the National Hockey League was against Stan Mikita.
Did you win it?
I tied him.
I remember I had Stan Mikita's hockey book when I was younger. He had a drills book. He used to have to stick handle an egg. And finally, my grandmother made me stop when I'd basically turned the basement floor into an omelet. That was enough of that.
Better that than a hand grenade.
That's right. 39.3 seconds to play in the second period. And no penalties called in that last altercation. Lindros is back out there with Primo and Claude Lemieux.
Gordon, get a real good look at the setup here off this face-off. See Lindros, there's the skates. That's where the skates have to be on this new alignment in the National Hockey League. That's why Lindros is so effective. Yashin's got his skates. Good job by Yashin off of that one. But you've got to be able to reach out where before you can sneak up on the puck.
Should say no power play on that last altercation. There are offsetting minors of Tverdovsky and Malakoff for Russia, Graves and Verbeek for Canada. Trefilov clears it away from a streaking Keith Primo. Now Zhitnik. Well, Primo had him lined up, and Zhitnik stepped right out of the way. Now Lindros hammered his man, Dmitry Yushkevich. Now here comes Alexei Yashin. Drop pass for Zhitnik. Zhitnik a shot. The rebound as Brodeur made the saves, and Yashin can't pick it up. Now Lindros. Bumped from behind, but able to clear it up. Time winds down in the entertaining and physical second period. Canada gets the only goal and trails 3-2.
I think the physical aspect of that second period is where Canada has dominated that second period. That's the real key, and you see Lindros is still involved with Gonchar. We'll watch for that in the third.
Eric Lindros making his presence felt. Paul Coffey's power play goal pulls Canada within 1 after 2 periods.
World Cup of Hockey live at the intermission is brought to you by Pepsi Stuff. People who drink it, get it. Ends October 31st.
I'm the numbers man. I just come in, build a dinosaur, and go home. But we have clients all over the world. International communication via the telephone, that is our link to our clients. We have to be competitive in our pricing. Advantage helps us to save those costs that are necessary. And ensures we don't go extinct.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
Hi, I'm Sparky Anderson. Tune in to TSN's Blue Jays telecast and watch for my on-the-ball features. Brought to you by Gillette's $250,000 Triple Play Challenge. Coming soon to a retailer near you.
Presenting Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant. A clear, clean gel that goes on smoothly with no white residue for effective all-day protection. Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant.
Through 2 periods of play in Calgary, Canada trails Russia 3-2 in World Cup pre-tournament action. Just 1 goal to report from the second period. It comes on the power play at 6:33. Paul Coffey's point shot brings Canada within 1. The shots on goal through 2 periods of play favor Canada 24-15 after they outshot the Russians 15-9 in the second period. The second period summary is brought to you by Chrysler. Well, it won't appear on the scoring summary, Ryan, but the score is 3-1 for Eric Lindros on Sergei Gonchar. Think back to earlier in the second period when Gonchar hit Lindros high up by the Canadian bench, and Lindros actually had to go to the Canadian dressing room. Great concern for Team Canada at that point, but then Lindros came back, and this happened.
Yeah, there's the response right here. Lindros had him lined up. That's a good, clean hit if Gonchar would have had the puck, but it was the repayment for that high butt end by Gonchar on Lindros.
Now, the question is, Canada can do that now, but is that the kind of thing that can happen during the tournament?
Well, it certainly can make an impact in a game, can't it? But the key is, again, discipline. The end result is you want to win the game. I think it's a payback. It's a good time to do it here in the pre-tournament.
Looking at this hockey game, too, we talked about it before the game. Team Canada's defense was in question. What do you think of the D tonight?
I think Adam Foote's done an excellent job of being up on the play. He's created some hits. Jovanovski's done a great job. I think he's stepped right in. I'm impressed with him here tonight. Scott Stevens is solid. Paul Coffey's played his game, so I think so far so good.
And Paul Coffey with the goal that brings Canada within 1. Back with the third period when our coverage of the 1996 World Cup of Hockey continues right after this.
Nebs is a direct marketer. Things like checks and forms and business cards and labels. You know, being in a small town doesn't hinder our business at all. The majority of our customers use either the Advantage toll-free phone or fax lines.
And really, the 1-800 lines are the lifeline between us and our customers. We've had an increase of about 35%.
If our 1-800 lines went down, we'd be out of business.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
Getting a trimmer, flat, or tummy just got easier. Hi, I'm Joanne McLeod.
I'm Hal Johnson. The Body Break Ab Master from Quality Fitness is the first product we're confident enough to put our name on.
With Abmaster, men and women of all ages and fitness levels can get a firmer, flatter stomach in just 7 minutes a day. There's also a free workout video and instruction guide to help you along. Feel great and get toned with the Body Break Abmaster. In stores now.
Back in Calgary, the players returning to the ice for the third period. World Cup pre-tournament action here in Calgary. The tournament itself begins tomorrow. Germany takes on Sweden in a game that we'll show you at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 Pacific tomorrow. On Tuesday, the Czech Republic plays Finland. On Wednesday, Germany plays Finland. And it continues on Thursday with the Czech Republic and Sweden, and 2 games on Friday. Russia takes on Slovakia in Montreal, and we'll have Finland against Sweden and Slovakia against the USA on September the 3rd from Madison Square Garden in New York. All these games on TSN, and a great schedule to begin the World Cup of Hockey. Here in Calgary, it's 3-2, and once the popcorn's done, what are you going to do? Well, if your buddy's got a hat, you got to have one too, I guess. Good crowd here at the Saddle Dome in Calgary tonight. and hoping to see Canada pull even. And I'll tell you what, you know, some people have said that maybe the World Cup isn't generating the same kind of enthusiasm it did before. And then you look at the lineups for these two teams tonight, and all of a sudden you just look at Scott Stevens, Adam Graves, Ron Francis, Mark Messier, Theoren Fleury, Rod Brind'Amour, Steve Yzerman, Joe Sakic, Claude Lemieux, Vincent Damphousse, Adam Foote, Keith Primo, Eric Lindros, Brendan Shanahan, and Wayne Gretzky, and you go, you know what? Pretty good hockey team. I mean, Curtis Joseph told us this morning, he said, in practice, when guys are bearing down on you on 2-on-1s, you know, in your own practice, I mean, half the pucks will end up on the glass. Every shot's a good one.
You know what's fun too, Gord, is this World Cup. When we look at how this has sort of come together, it gives you a bit of a thought of the '98 Olympics in Nagano and how that might come together. Will Gretzky be there? Will Messier be there? I was looking back a while back, and it's amazing to think that in 1920, hockey was a tryout sport in the Summer Olympics, and then was introduced in 1924 in France as the first Olympic sport.
You can bet that Eric Lindros, who won a silver medal in Albertville in 1992, will be front and center in Nagano. Lindros isn't crazy about the Olympic format, but says he looks forward to playing there. A long season for guys like him, and especially when you play physically as he does, it can be a very long year. Just ask Joe Sakic. He's out tonight, just having a rest, but Joe Sakic played 104 regular season and playoff games last year for Colorado, and then had a month and a half off. You talk about Adam Foote leading the rush. Here he does it again for Canada, taken down by Darius Kasparaitis. Claude Lemieux is out there as well, his Colorado teammate. Igor Larionov chips it neatly off the boards and gets it ahead for Sergei Gonchar, who will no doubt be mindful of Eric Lindros' presence on every shift. Here comes the smooth skating Paul Coffey. Quick shot, and Coffey almost got his second goal. Now Coffey plays it back to the line, but his defense partner Scott Niedermayer was playing well back. Here's Lindros with it. Canada in the middle of a line change. Lindros ahead for Trevor Linden, who lost the puck, back to Niedermayer. Lindros trying to hustle off the ice. Brind'Amour just kicks it down into the Russian zone. And Lindros did not head off. He went cross ice and had an opportunity there that was knocked down by Alexei Zhamnov, who blindly back passes it to Sergei Gonchar. And Gonchar plays it down. Scott Stevens will be forced to get it. And actually Mark Messier will pick it up for Canada. 18:47 to play in the third period. So Glenn Sather watching his troops closely, and this is what we've been watching through two periods of play. Canada's outchanced the Russians 16-9, out-hit them 13-7. Both teams have a power play goal. Team Canada playing Team Canada playing a busy pre-tournament schedule, back-to-back games against the United States, then traveling here and to Edmonton for a game, and then it's to Vancouver to take on the Russians on Thursday. Mark Messier stepping into those new face-off markings against Alexei Zhamnov. Ron Francis telling us between periods he's not crazy about them, but he says players are already cheating. They've already found a way around it, and you can bet that if there's a way to beat it, Mark Messier will find it. Scott Niedermayer over for Scott Stevens. Gets it ahead for Trevor Linden. And his pass just out of the reach of Mark Messier. Icing waved off as Zhitnik goes back, and Messier had him lined up. But Zhitnik able to avoid that hit. Now Linden for Messier. Messier waits, the shot deflected wide by Dmitry Yushkevich. Now Linden with it. For Stevens. Scott Stevens with a shot. Messier tipped that, it was stopped. Zhamnov, long lead pass for McGillney breaking in. But Martin Brodeur clears it off the boards, not out. Now Rod Brind'Amour with it. Brind'Amour's pass broken up. Stevens and Niedermayer, the two Scots from New Jersey, setting it ahead for Trevor Linden. Here's Alexander McGillney, lost the puck in his feet. Stevens gets it ahead for Wayne Gretzky. Centering pass for Damphousse, and Damphousse almost got it on the second try. Here comes Kovalev. Kovalev steps around Gretzky. He's got Yashin with him. Kovalev, great moves, but Rob Blake forces him back. Kovalev down low for Yashin. The pass broken up by Wayne Gretzky. Now Kovalev with a shot, blocked by Damphousse. Yashin with it. Hammered by Blake. Valerie Bure with it, waiting and trying to get it to Kovalev, but the puck is broken up as Jovanovski gets it. Jovanovski hammers Kovalev, and now here comes Gretzky with Theoren Fleury and Vincent Damphousse. Gretzky for Fleury. His soft shot handled easily by Trefilov. Puck up on the back of the net. And Trefilov will hang on as Theoren Fleury takes a shot at Darius Kasparaitis. And we've got a penalty coming up to Kasparaitis, I believe.
Here's what happened, Gord. Kasparaitis was getting slashing, and then he actually tried to manhandle Dan Marawelli. I think Kasparaitis is going to go for a long time. There's the slash here, right there. You can see that slash on Theoren Fleury. Now watch Kasparaitis. Paw is in play. Kasparaitis, as Fleury walks away, actually goes after Marawelli. And I think we're going to see
a double minor to Darius Kasparaitis. Slashing is the first, and unsportsmanlike conduct is the second. So Canada with a long power play opportunity in the hockey game, and Paul Coffey has a power play goal from the second period.
And that's probably a generous response by Dan Marawelli, because anytime you manhandle a referee, you're supposed to be gone.
Canada's 1 for 4 on the power play with 8 shots on goal. Lindros with Fleury and Gretzky. Niedermeyer and Coffey are back at the point. Gretzky got a right on goal off the faceoff. Lindros back to Niedermeyer. For Theoren Fleury. Time, a shot. Bad save made by Trefilov. Trefilov and Brodeur have played the entire game so far. And they would appear to be the starting goaltenders for their respective teams when the tournament opens Thursday for these two clubs. Now Lindros leans into Malikov, leaves it behind the net for Gretzky. Centering pass, nobody there. Niedermeyer for Coffey. To Lindros. Coffey for Fleury. One times it over for Niedermeyer, couldn't handle the pass. Gretzky with Lindros in front. Gretzky backhand shot. Lindros looking for the loose puck. And Trefilov with a little butt end on Eric Lindros, who is causing all kinds of headaches for the Russians at both ends of the ice. Wayne Gretzky has fond memories of this building for two reasons. In 1986, he recorded 3 points to give him 215 on the season. That's a all-time regular season scoring mark that still stands. He also scored a short-handed goal here in the playoffs in 1988 against Calgary in overtime, and Edmonton went on to sweep the Calgary Flames.
Well, Wayne Gretzky has been an unbelievable player in my era, and when I say that, I had a chance to play against him in junior, and he was as good then, Gord, as he is now. He really hasn't stopped for, closing in on 2 centuries.
Rob Blake with a shot that was gloved down by Trefilov. Just think about it. If you want to break Wayne Gretzky's NHL record for career goals, you'll have to have 17 consecutive 50-goal seasons. The record's 9 by Mike Bossy. The longest current streak of consecutive 50 goals, I believe, is 5. Messier back to the point. Damphousse with a shot. That's blocked by Kovalenko. Now Damphousse gets it back. Hard shot off a skating wide. 3 minutes to go in this double minor. Messier out there with Linden and Verbeek. And Pat Verbeek gets it behind there for his former Ranger teammate, Mark Messier. Damphousse keeps it in. Playing the point on the power play is Vincent Damphousse. Trevor Linden. Fans getting impatient with the Canadian power play. Messier centers it. Almost knocked out by Seamak. Now Messier with it. Back to the point to Blake. Blake tees it up. That shot hit the skate of Yuskevich. Now Linden chipped it to the front of the net. Verbeek couldn't get good wood on it. Blake to Messier. Linden heading off the ice. He broke his stick. Placed by Lindros. Here's Verbeek. Puck taken away from him by Zhitnik and cleared down the ice by Andrei Kovalenko. Russians have killed off the first half of the double minor. Rob Blake with it. Ahead for Gretzky. Coffey in full stride. Coffey gets around the defenseman. Lost the puck. And Kravchuk came back to clear it away. Coffey had beaten him cleanly. Now Fleury. For Paul Coffey in deep. Lindros in front. They can't get the puck to him. Niedermeyer to Lindros. Back to Niedermeyer. Coffey. For Niedermeyer. Tees it up. Oh, deflected just wide. I think Theron Fleury got a piece of that. Now Niedermeyer. In front, the puck almost bounced to Gretzky, who tips it back to Coffey. And now the puck is cleared out. Here comes the breakaway for Alexei Zhamnov. Short-handed. Stopped by Brodeur. Lindros brings it back the other way. Drop for Gretzky. Here's Coffey. Tees it up. Pad save by Trefilov. And the Russians bring it right back. McGillney. Working on Rob Blake. Centers to Zhamnov. Another save by Brodeur. Two great short-handed chances. And Dan Marawelli, blue play dead. Martin Brodeur showing the form that made him the NHL Rookie of the Year in '94. Caused a standing ovation here in Calgary.
Well, Martin Brodeur just outstares Alexei Zhamnov. Right here, here's the breakaway. Zhamnov takes his time. He's going top corner right here. The puck bobbles, but he doesn't get it top corner enough. Great save by Brodeur with the hand. And now, watch this. Zhamnov gets another shot. Brodeur finds it. Great left hand by Martin Brodeur. You know, Brodeur on that breakaway, you can see how cool he was, Gord. The key to that, apparently, goaltenders tell me, is let the shooter make the first move. Respond to the puck. And Brodeur did that time.
54 seconds to go. The second penalty to Darius Kasparaitis. Canada is on the power play, but has surrendered two outstanding shorthanded chances to the Russians. Canada has outshot Russia 30-17 in the hockey game, but trails 3-2. Here comes Niedermeyer. In front for Messier, who was brought down. No penalty on the play. Verbeek. Back to Niedermeyer. Wait, sends it in front. Messier walks away and a Trefilov to save. Rebound. And they can't knock it past the Russian goaltender as Adam Graves was parked right on the doorstep.
Well, most deflections happen by forwards on their backhand. Mark Messier is able to take this deflection on the forehand. Watch Messier on the left-hand side of your screen. Look at that. Forehand deflection and whack. He almost gets it by Trefilov.
Mentioned that Mark Messier's 47 goals were his highest total in 13 years. He scored more goals than any player last year on the Team Canada roster. Team Canada does not have a 50-goal scorer in the lineup tonight. Joe Sakic had 51 last year. You would account for the only 50 goals. Now Lindros with a shot. Graves tipped it wide. 25 seconds to go in the power play, and the Russians are able to get it out. Coffey back for Niedermeyer. Looking for Lindros, front of the net, and the pass is broken up by Oleg Tverdovsky. Nikolitin breaks out with Yashin. And now one chance for Canada here, 10 seconds to go. Pass for Messier. Messier streaking down the wing, shot from the off wing, his trademark, is stopped by Trefilov. The penalty to Kasparaitis has expired. The Russians kill off a 4-minute Canadian power play. And now Lindros takes the lead pass, but it crosses two lines. 12:52 to play here in the third period. And Team Canada trails 3-2 thanks to Martin Brodeur keeping them in the game.
This summer, TSN and Subway want you to put a fight on us to win. Win one of 6 weekly baseball or football prize packs, and all correct entries will qualify to win a grand prize trip to 2 World Series games or a trip to this year's Grey Cup game. Get an entry at participating Subway stores, then tune in and look for the Subway Bite during TSN baseball and CFL broadcasts, and mail in each week for a chance to win.
TSN is proud to present the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. Tonight's third period is brought to you by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning.
He's 6'4", 230 pounds. They call him the Presence. And his former teammate, Dmitry Yuskevich, got into it with him here.
Yuskevich, 24-year-old Yuskevich, comes after Lindros and then responds, but you got to wonder what's on his mind right there. Not only have you got Eric Lindros, but you've got to go through his stick.
Those two actually had a very warm greeting this morning, said hello and exchanged pleasantries. But that's over with now. 12:49 to play in the third period. Canada trails by a goal. Canada lost its last pre-tournament game to the U.S. in San Jose after beating the Americans in Vancouver. Now here comes Lindros, winding it up. Lindros got knocked down, and the puck is chipped ahead now. Zhitnik ahead for Kovalenko. Kovalenko stopped by Scott Stevens. Now Gonchar being watched by Primo, and the pass is knocked ahead too far for Claude Lemieux. Icing is waved off. Here comes Yuskevich. Long lead pass for Igor Larionov. Drop for Kovalenko. Andrei Kovalenko with a long shot, stopped by Martin Brodeur. Now Gretzky back the other way with Damphousse. Wayne Gretzky and Vincent Damphousse. Damphousse back for Gretzky. The pass broken up neatly by Darius Kasparaitis. Now Sergei Berezin brings it back. Berezin stopped by Jovanovski. Berezin gets it back, and Jovanovski gives him another whack. Jovanovski hammering on Berezin. Damphousse chips it ahead. Here comes Trevor Linden. He's got Rob Blake with him. Linden with a shot, stopped by Trefilov. Rebound, and Trefilov is able to glove it. 11:33 to go in the third period. Great scoring chances at both ends of the ring.
If you want full Office Suite power at a word processor price, look no further than Corel WordPerfect Suite. Corel WordPerfect Suite includes an exceptionally intelligent word processor, an award-winning spreadsheet, amazing presentation graphics, plus business graphics and utilities, hundreds of fonts and thousands of clip art images. Corel WordPerfect Suite delivers Office Suite power at a word processor price.
You didn't tell me.
You never asked.
But I thought we had everything in common.
We do. We're both great tasting, except that I'm low in fat.
Low in fat?
Yeah.
You say it like it's no big deal.
Kellogg's Rice Krispie Squares have always been low in fat. Hey, now you know.
Who'd have guessed?
What's it like? Kind of hard to describe.
Come on, you gotta tell us.
Okay, it's like we're all great tasting.
Yeah.
But I'm low in fat.
Low in fat must be nice.
Kellogg's Rice Krispie Squares have always been low in fat. Hey, now you know.
You're so lucky.
Boris Mikhailov, a great player for those Russian national teams back in the 1970s. Now coaching the World Cup entry. Alexander Semak hooked down Rob Blake and goes off. So Team Canada, which had 7 shots on its last power play, will get the man advantage again. Alexander Semak, by the way, scored the overtime winner in Game 1 of the '87 Canada Cup final. All 3 games in that final end up 6-5.
Team Canada off this power play, Gordon, want a little bit more motion in front of Andrei Trefilov. They've got a guy standing there. They probably want a couple of guys crossing, and of course you've got to have possession before you can do that.
Scott Niedermayer across for Paul Coffey. Coffey trying to get it to Fleury. The pass was broken up, but Coffey was able to get it back. Now Fleury behind the net for Lindros, over to Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky trying to find Theoren Fleury. Instead goes back to the point to Niedermayer. Now Gretzky chips it ahead. Lindros scores! Eric Lindros ties the game.
That's a great pass by Gretzky to Lindros. He chips it in. It's about a 9-iron shot, and Lindros is able to redirect it on his forehand. Excellent work between Coffey and Gretzky to get the puck down to Lindros. Boy, when that big guy camps there, there's nobody who's going to move him.
Eric Lindros from Wayne Gretzky and Paul Coffey. It's 88 from 99 and 77. And it's 3-3. Kozlov brings it back the other way. Poke checked away by Scott Stevens, who's been a tower of strength on the Canadian blue line. Igor Larionov sends it into the Canadian zone. 10:50 to play in the third period. We're tied at 3. Stevens, long lead pass for Lindros. Lindros out there with Primo and Lemieux. Lindros gets around the first man, Malikov, centers it, and Trefilov knocked it away. Primo for Claude Lemieux. Lemieux breaks away, tees it up, and Primo tipped it just wide. Now Messier breaking in there. Larionov knocks it down, and Team Canada has seized control of this hockey game since the latter stages of the second period. Crowd urging the Canadians on as Adam Graves sends it down to the Russian zone. Zhitnik for Nikolishin. He gets it ahead for Zhamnov. Drops it off for McGillney. McGillney, his centering pass is knocked high in the air. Now here comes Messier. Messier with Verbeek and Graves. And the crowd hollering moose, moose. Those used to be boos when he played for Edmonton. And the shot from well outside the line taken by Adam Graves as he heads off the ice. Yuskevich. Nikolishin. Hammered by Rod Brind'Amour. Wayne Gretzky picks it up. Verbeek ahead for Brind'Amour. Chips it ahead. See, they're juggling his lines now. Gretzky out there with Brind'Amour and Trevor Linden. Now Linden hustling back as Zhamnov breaks in. Zhamnov. And the puck hopped over the stick of Nikolishin. Andrei Nikolishin leaves it for Alexander McGillney. His pass for Zhamnov broken up by Scott Niedermayer. Niedermayer spent a lot of time in Calgary growing up, has a lot of people here, and Alexander Semak almost had a breakaway. Now McGillney keeps it in and shoots it wide. And Niedermayer almost got burned in front of all those friends and family. Now a foot race for it. Kasparaitis back there with Gretzky. And Gretzky gave him a bit of a whack and even a bit of a stare on the way by. Eric Lindros' goal has Canada even with Russia at 3.
Music looks like a lot of fun when you're playing, and it is. It's a business, though. You've got to make ends meet. I make 500-600 calls a month. The Advantage program is definitely something that's come into play in a big way. When you're out on the road, you're working 24 hours a day. Checking back with the office, the voicemail. The discounts for me have come in around 30%. It's a sizable chunk of money. It's a long, slow process to an overnight success.
Advantage, providing solutions for business.
Continues on Tuesday. Former Blue Jay Paul Molitor in with the Minnesota Twins. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific here on TSN. All that around World Cup hockey action this week. Here it's 3-3 in Calgary with 8:45 to go. And since the end of the first period, Canada has outshot Russia 29-13. Coffey looking ahead for Messier. Went off the skate of Kovalenko. And Messier gave Trepalov a shot. And he gave him the lumber on the way by. Now Kovalenko. Plays it behind the net for Darius Kasparaitis. Gonchar. Gingerly up for Alexander Semak. Pass ahead for Sergei Berezin. Berezin fell in front of Paul Coffey. And the Canadians are able to clear it down. Icing is the indication as Kasparaitis goes back to get it. And 8:07 to play in the third period. This game is tied at 3. The game story so far, the Russians scored 2 quick ones in the first, but Canada has come back with 2 power play goals. Eric Lindros tied it. Wayne Gretzky has 2 assists in the game, and Canada out shooting the Russians by a wide margin. This should not be unexpected, Ryan. The Russian teams have traditionally been outshot because they don't tend to take shots from sharp angles.
Yeah, they like to keep possession until a perfect shot comes.
Now Tverdovsky, a soft shot, hit the goalpost. Rebound, Kovalev stopped by Brodeur. That slow roller by Oleg Tverdovsky caromed off the goalpost, and Kovalev had a great chance at the side of the net.
One of the few times that Alexei Yashin has been able to beat Eric Lindros on the draw. And this is just put on net, deflected here, post and out. And watch Valerie Bury go hard into Martin Brodeur trying to get the rebound.
Now a bouncing puck down in the Russian zone. Malikov being watched by Lemieux. Alexei Yashin lost the puck there to Scott Stevens. And it was in turn broken up by Kovalev. Alexei Kovalev Gold medalist in 92 and a Stanley Cup champion in 94. Lost the puck to Lindros, who flips it ahead. And now quick changes by both teams, and the crowd kind of takes a breather here. Maybe exhausted after 2.5 hours of great hockey. Bure drops it for Yashin. That pass is broken up by Stevens, sending it ahead for Rod Brindamore. Chips it ahead for Trevor Linden. But Linden lost the puck. And now Blake sends it in, but the Canadians have to hustle back onside. Yashin with it. Looking ahead for Kovalev. Martin Brodeur can't knock it down. Slava Kozlov from a sharp angle hit the side of the net. Here comes Ed Jovanovski. Jovanovski with that clearing attempt goes high into the crowd. Now to play with 6:53 to go here in the third period. One concern for the Canadians, Ryan, the travel schedule. Thursday in Vancouver against Russia, then Saturday in Philadelphia against the United States, and then Sunday in Montreal against Slovakia. Canada will travel more than any team in North America in the round-robin portion of the tournament.
And the United States team has been setting up their camp in Providence, Rhode Island, so in essence, Gord, they're waiting. There's no doubt that they'll be waiting for the Canadian team when they line up that match as this tournament goes on.
Interestingly enough, all three of Canada's games will take place in arenas that are less than a year old. GM Place in Vancouver, the Molson Center in Montreal, and the new Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Core States Center. Offside is the indication at the line as Alexei Zhitnik stepped in, but the teammate was offside. So new Barnes get the workout, and you can see Alexei Zhitnik hasn't got his new equipment yet. He's still wearing the Buffalo Sabres gloves. That's right. Traded, as I mentioned, by LA to Buffalo in the Grant Fuhr deal a couple of years ago. He's played in 3 World Championships, the Olympics, the Canada Cup. And he's just 23 years old. And Zhitnik has it now, over for Dmitry Yushkevich. Slava Kozlov had it knocked away by Messier, who gets it ahead for Coffey. Coffey with Messier and Verbeek. Messier down low for Verbeek. Verbeek side of the centers, and Graves scores! Adam Graves, 4-3 Canada.
Well, you had an idea that cycling the puck down low was going to reward this Canadian team, and it does with the winning goal by Adam Graves. Verbeek picks it up, shovels it in front, and Graves redirects it past Andrei Trepalov, and that all began with the cycle. Canadians are cycling down low and were rewarded on that one.
Which means repeatedly throwing it in the corner, right? Just setting it down low.
Well, I think it was an excellent setup, though, by Mark Messier. He knew that Verbeek was going to retain the puck.
Graves for Messier and Verbeek at 13:43. Now, Primo for Claude Lemieux. Back to Coffey. Canada leads for the first time since the first, and almost adds to it as that puck bounces into the glove of Trefilov. And now Verbeek, or Lemieux rather, is back down in there with Darius Kasparaitis. Yes, Claude Lemieux always popular in international and National Hockey League games.
If there's a scrum, Claude's in the middle of it if he's on the ice.
Well, there's Adam Graves. Well documented that Adam Graves had back surgery. In fact, the timing of it couldn't have been better. It came right during the NHL lockout. Adam Graves missed only 1 game last year. In fact, has missed only 1 game in the last 5 years, despite having major back surgery.
Talked to Adam Graves actually this morning, and he's telling me he had a good summer, or so far a good summer in Toronto. A lot of these guys have spent the last 2 months preparing for this World Cup.
Graves was outstanding for the Rangers in the playoffs last year. 7 goals in 10 postseason games for New York. Now the Russians bring it back. Zhamnov. Poke check by Adam Foote. Now Gretzky sends it ahead for Trevor Linden. Gonchar took a bump from Brindamore. McGillney has poke checked neatly. Now Gonchar with it. What is it about Canada-Russia games in Calgary? They always seem so close. And this one far from done. Now Brindamore sends it in. Malikov picks it up. Gretzky looking to pick it up against McGillney. Gretzky gets it back for Stevens. Backhands to the front. Zhamnov knocked that down. And Alexei Zhamnov winds it up for the Russians. And Zhamnov lost the puck at his skates and will have to regroup as Canada changes lines. Messier, Graves, and Verbeek are back out there for Canada. Here comes Tverdovsky, the defenseman leading the rush. Tverdovsky goes in and bowls over Martin Brodeur. Doesn't get a shot away. Now Yashin, poked away by Messier. Yashin hooks him down, and Alexei Yashin will be penalized for hooking down Mark Messier. The 35-year-old Messier forces the 22-year-old Yashin to hook him down.
If you want full Office Suite power at a word processor price, look no further than Corel WordPerfect Suite. Corel WordPerfect Suite includes an exceptionally intelligent word processor, an award-winning spreadsheet, amazing presentation graphics, plus business graphics and utilities, hundreds of fonts and thousands of clip art images. Corel WordPerfect Suite delivers Office Suite power at a word processor price.
I'm here at Skydome with Circle researcher Sheila Forbes. Domes, diamonds, circles, this is all coming out of left field.
No, Dean, it's right over the pitcher's mound. But you'll notice the baseball diamond has been transformed into a circle.
Fascinating. Any clues?
Well, Dean, we found traces of chocolate and peanut butter on this baseball.
Reese Peanut Butter Cups, a close encounter of real milk chocolate and peanut butter.
I guess this time they've really thrown you a curveball.
No, it's a Rawlings.
Alexei Yashin got caught flat-footed and hooked down Mark Messier.
And the key to this one is that Messier keeps his feet moving along the boards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strides, and you can see that's why Yashin pulled him down.
And so Team Canada goes back to the power play with 4:40 to play in the third period. Remember, though, Russia had 2 outstanding shorthanded chances on a Canadian power play opportunity earlier. Rob Blake brings it ahead for Canada. LA King fans will be watching his progress in the tournament closely. Lindros takes a hard bump. Gretzky behind the net for Fleury. Blake to Fleury. Canada 3 wide of the blue line. Now Fleury down low for Gretzky. Gretzky waits. Centers it. Lindros was knocked down, and Lindros tomahawked Dmitry Yushkevich. Chopped him down like a tree. I guess they will be going to any Flyer reunions together. Now Kovalenko, short-handed. Stopped from behind by Coffey. Kovalenko gets the backhand shot. Rebound, they score! Alexei Kovalev cashes on the short-handed chance. 4-4 with 3:53 to go.
Well, this is a strong backhand by Andrei Kovalenko. Look at the balance here. Watch the backhand. Coffey's all over him. He gets a lot of wood on that shot. And Kovalev puts it home. Martin Brodeur, no chance, he's down. But I'm amazed at how much Kovalenko was able to get on that backhand. He must have a pretty straight stick cord. That's the one I used to have.
Kovalev from Kovalenko at 16:07, and we're even at 4 with 3:53 to go. Still 1:05 to go, and the Russian penalty to Alexei Yashin. And Verbeek tries to clear it up off the glass, but it goes out of play. So we mentioned the shorthanded opportunities for the Russians, and they come through to even this game at 4. And Boris Mikhailov, now this is unusual. I mean, we were used to watching Viktor Tikhonov. I mean, he smiled once a decade. Boris Mikhailov smiles once every 3 or 4 minutes.
I'm not sure Mihailov's grinning to try and get his glasses up on the top of his nose, or if it's a real smile, but
he's thinking he needs new glasses.
He's enjoying it.
Now Niedermeyer ahead for Coffey. Coffey. And the pass is offside. What a year in Russian hockey. We talked about all the upheaval there. At one point during the season last year, Viktor Tikhonov was replaced as the coach of the former Central Red Army team. Tikhonov went to court and actually turned up with armed guards and took over the dressing room. It took soldiers to evict Tikhonov and his guards from the room.
And I chatted with Tikhonov at the World Championships in Vienna, and he was telling me, or the guy next to him was telling me, Gord, that it was actually the defense minister that relieved him or retired him from his job. It's an amazing story.
Coffey looking for Pat Verbeek. 30 seconds to go on the Russian penalty. Igor Larionov looking for a shorthanded chance, but Brodeur comes out quickly. And the Russians changing penalty killers. A chance for Canada here. Scott Niedermayer moving across the line. Niedermayer goes offside at the Russian line. One thing Glenn Sather has emphasized for Canadian defensemen is to jump into the play. And for a player like Scott Niedermayer, it's been kind of a welcome experience, although he says he's not really remembering how to do it. It's been a while. He plays in New Jersey, and Jacques Lemaire does not like his defensemen to get involved in the rush.
Well, Scott Niedermayer loves to be up in the play. Type of character. Play a free-flowing style that's aggressive and offensively designed. And does that sound a little bit like the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s, late 70s and 80s? Sure does. And I think we've seen a bunch of that tonight.
Malikov goes back and icing the call now against Canada with 11 seconds to go. So the Canadian power play misfiring badly, having given up a shorthanded goal, and now forced back with 11 seconds into its own zone. Well, Glenn Sather truly does believe in offensive hockey, even though a couple years ago his team wasn't really well suited to it. He was a part of the rules committee that tried to open the game up. Sather believes in creativity. He believes in players moving the puck up the ice quickly, the quick transition game, and he's long admired Russian players who are excellent at doing it. Jamnov steps in for the draw now against Keith Primo. And Jamnov had to give him the edge on that draw. And time winding down this Russian penalty. 4-4 is the score, 2:50 to play. Tverdovsky with a shot right on. Brodeur made the stop. And Jamnov chips it back for Malikov. Lindros hammers Yashin, in fact knocks him into the Canadian bench. Now Lindros looking for the puck, who was in his skates, and Yashin brings it back. His pass for McGillney is behind him. Primo brings it back. Keith Primo across the line for Claude Lemieux. Puck to the front of the net. Trefilov makes the save as Keith Primo was bearing down on him. 2:19 to play here in the third period.
How many quality hits has Eric Lindros had tonight? Boy, they're double figures, there's no doubt about that. Here's a hit on Yashin. Alexei Yashin, he's just overpowered by Eric Lindros, almost tossed into the bench. And Alexei Yashin's very strong on his feet. So that gives you a pretty good indication of how strong Eric Lindros is.
Just ask players around the National Hockey League who have been rattled by those checks. Brent Sather said last year, it used to be a big defenseman who was 6'1", 200. He says Eric Lindros has changed the definition of big.
Wayne Gretzky will line up with his feet straight, but 3 times now in this game he's gone forward on the left-hand face-off circle and almost put it in.
I've seen him score like that.
See him line up, though. He lines up to show, I'm going to pull it back, and then often he goes forward.
Tried to pull it back, but the draw was won by Alexei Yashin. Kept in by Blake. Down low for Damphus. He's being worked over by Zhitnik. And Yuskevich brings it back. Fleury couldn't contain the bouncing puck. And Yuskevich gets it back for the Russians. Ahead for Yashin. For Kovalev. Sends it back in front. Martin Brodeur makes the stop. Fleury ahead for Gretzky. Here come Fleury, Gretzky, and Damphus. Fleury drops for Gretzky. Back to Fleury. Fleury in front of the net. Now the wraparound side of the net. Trefilov made the stop. And I think it got tied up in the equipment of one of the Russian players. The puck disappeared into Alexei Zhitnik.
You talk about tic-tac-toe. These two guys, Theo Fleury and Wayne Gretzky. Look at the give go. Give. Watch here. Go. Give. Right back. Great pass by Gretzky to Theo Fleury. He just doesn't have enough room, and this goes right into Zhitnik's equipment. That's why the whistle's blown. Now imagine the centerman here, Gord. You start off with Gretzky on the face-off, then you get Mark Messier on the same face-off in the offensive zone, and if that works again, you get Lindros. Boy, they're strong up the middle.
8 of Canada's forwards play center in the National Hockey League. Now the puck ahead for Igor Larionov. Larionov drops for Kozlov. Kozlov hooked down from behind by Messier. No penalty. Now Messier. Moose, moose, they yell. I never thought I'd hear a Calgary crowd applaud Mark Messier. They did warmly in the pregame introductions. And here again. Here comes Kasparaitis, hit by Brindamore. Kozlov got it a hit for Larionov. For Kovalenko, Coffey broke that up for Niedermeyer. Find the middle of play in the third period. Messier for Niedermeyer. Rod Brindamore has it now. Brindamore tees it up along the boards, and now Lemieux picks it up for Canada. McGillney with it. Centers it. And Gonchar has it. We've been told there will be a 5-minute overtime period here tonight. That's the tournament rule. And McGillney picks it up. Jamnok sends it around. And McGillney battling for it there. It's picked up. Keith Primo knocked it away. Claude Lemieux trying to pick it up. 20 seconds to go here in the third period. McGillney has it. Tverdovsky for Malikov. Back to McGillney. The kids are out there again. Nikolitin for Jamnok. Jamnok working on Stevens. Stops for Nikolitin. The shot. Brodeur the save. Rob Blake throws it behind the net. Jamnok for Tverdovsky. His shot blocked by Stevens. And time expires here in the third period. 4-4, Canada and Russia.
Well, somehow you knew that Canada was going to get back in. It started the second period with the big hits, and the third period with the tie as far as goals. But Russia, equal to the task, came back, and this is going to be an excellent overtime.
And the crowd applauding the news that there will indeed be a 5-minute overtime. 4-4, Canada and Russia are tied.
When you need a sealant that's got to stick, Mono Ultra does the trick. Mono Ultra. When it calls for the best, the choice is clear. There won't be anything like it for years. Mono Ultra. It works in the sun. It works in your shower. You wash up with water and hang it in an hour. Whatever the kitchen surface, nothing sticks to the job like Mono Ultra. And it's mildew-proof in the bathroom. Mono Ultra. Get the Mono.
If you want full office suite power at a word processor price, look no further than Corel WordPerfect Suite. Corel WordPerfect Suite includes an exceptionally intelligent word processor, an award-winning spreadsheet, amazing presentation graphics, plus business graphics and utilities, hundreds of fonts and thousands of clip art images. Corel WordPerfect Suite delivers office suite power at a word processor price.
Welcome back to our World Cup of Hockey Control Center, and I ask you this question: why is there overtime when Canada has to play tomorrow night and it's just an exhibition game?
Well, logic might suggest that they shouldn't be playing overtime, but ours is not the reason why. Just, what, do or die? What is it?
I think that's how the phrase goes.
Whatever.
But I think it's inconsequential whether Canada wins this hockey game or not. Do you see enough positives? Are they doing what they want to do?
At this point in time, I'm not so sure. It'd be nice. I'm sure Canada wants to win. They want to get something going here in overtime and get something to build on. Yeah, I think they've got so much to build on already. Eric Lindros has played a great game. Martin Brodeur, after a bit of a shaky first period, came up with 2 big saves in the third period. I'm going to be very interested to see in overtime if Glenn Sather goes to his bench. Steve Yzerman, Rod Brindamore, Trevor Linden have played some tonight, but not nearly as much as the other 3 lines, and I'll be interested to see whether Sather will go to the bench and use those guys, fresh legs in overtime, with the game going tomorrow night against Slovakia in Edmonton.
And it's nice to see Martin Brodeur playing well. He made a couple of enormous saves in that third period. Immediately following tonight's hockey game, Sports Desk. Well, let's return to Calgary for OT.
All right, thanks very much, guys. You can see that Bob McKenzie didn't spend the summer reading the classics once again. I think he was padding around in the pool. Big Eric Lindros comes back on the ice. A 5-minute overtime period here, and Team Canada went ahead 4-3 on this goal by Adam Graves, who knocked down the pass from Pat Verbeek, but then short-handed Alexei Kovalev. Great work by Kovalenko to fight off Coffey, and then good work by Kovalev to fight off Theoren Fleury to bring us where we are now, even at 4. I think the crowd's exhausted. I think a very good hockey game has worn them out, because they kind of hit the wall there with about 5 minutes to go in the third period. Now Claude Lemieux with it. I think both teams have made interesting points tonight. It'll be watched on Thursday. Now the shot. Primo tried to tip in Niedermeyer's blast, but it went just wide. The Russians have established that their penalty killing might be outstanding with a couple of short-handed goals tonight. Now Bure. Valerie Bure back for Yuskevich. Dmitry Yuskevich working in on Coffey. Sends it over for Bure. Couldn't handle the pass. And Linden Lindros clears it, not out. Jitnik with a shot. Rebound. Loose puck. Here comes Yuskevich. Couldn't get the shot away. It's blocked by Coffey. Furious pressure by the Russians here in the opening minutes of overtime. Yashin working on Niedermeyer. And the puck is cleared out by Scott Niedermeyer. Canada has outshot the Russians 40-27 in the hockey game. Here's Darius Kasparaitis. Watched by Gretzky. So Sater has not gone to his bench yet. Dan Foose puts it to an open wing. Here comes Slava Kozlov with it. Kozlov with Larionov and Gonchar. Here's Kovalenko with it now. Drop pass. Kozlov the shot. And Martin Brodeur makes the stop and falls on the rebound.
Now Brodeur's make 2 or 3 saves here in overtime. One I'm looking for is spectacular. There's a deflection in front of Brodeur, and I think he followed it and found it. You know, I'm pretty impressed with Brodeur. Now, Gord, is interesting. You look at the GMs and coaches that'll get together here for Team Canada. Will it be Martin Brodeur that begins the tournament? Is it the hottest goalie you pick? You already have your goalie in mind. Lots of questions.
Here's Kasparaitis leaving at the line for Gonchar, who slides it down to the corner. Too far for Kovalenko. Kozlov got hit by Blake. And Blake, known as an offensive defenseman, can also hand out the hits. He is a very effective hitter. Verbeek working on Kasparaitis, gave him a whack, and that battle continues. Kozlov, long lead pass now for Gonchar. Gonchar trying to get around Scott Stevens, but Blake was there to pick up the puck when he did. Blake for Stevens. Pass for Graves, and that pass is knocked down. Malikov lost it to Trefilov. Now Verbeek working down deep. Gonchar ahead for Kovalenko. This line's been on the ice for about a minute and a half. Larionov for Nikolishin. Andrei Nikolishin. Poke check by Linden. Here comes Coffey with it for Canada. For Rod Brind'Amour. Now Zhamnov tips it back for Tverdovsky. And the teams look exhausted too. Remember, both teams have had rigorous travel schedules. The Russians played 2 nights ago in Detroit. And Team Canada played back-to-back games against the United States. Now Brind'Amour for Lindros. Brind'Amour looking for Linden. The pass was behind him. Now Brind'Amour. Lost the puck. Back to the line is Niedermeyer to save it for Trevor Linden. He's poke-checked off the puck by Nikolishin. And Team Canada clears it back in. 2 minutes to go in overtime.
Interesting to look at the 2 good teams, probably the 2 best teams in the preseason or pre-tournament. Russia ties this game, Gord. They remain undefeated. Not a bad record even without Bure and Fedorov.
Yeah, a lot of questions about where Pavel Bure is. All the Russians would say is that he's on personal business. There's been some speculation that he's in Vancouver getting his knee checked out. No confirmation of that.
Well, I had a confirmation that he was in Vancouver and that he was having it looked at, but they would meet him tomorrow with no problem. They were very happy with the 3 games that he played, and they were just going to have it looked at.
Now Dan Foose ahead for Gretzky. Gretzky lost the puck momentarily, and it went off Gretzky's stick as Yuskevich cleared it up and out of play. 1:28 to go in the overtime period. Wayne Gretzky made his first international appearance for Canada in the 1978 World Junior Tournament, led the tournament in scoring at the age of 16.
Well, 16 years old, I was with Wayne Gretzky at that training camp and played in 78. We should have had a better end result than we did. We ended up with bronze, but Wayne Gretzky was a revelation. Here's a young kid that came in and led the whole tournament scoring at 16, turning 17. And what a career he's had.
What was your first thought when you saw him?
I thought he was maybe a little, people around our team thought he might be a little bit small or frail to play, but I don't think any of us players felt that. We knew how talented he was, and we're sure glad to have him on our team.
Now Verbeek throws it in the corner for Messier. Hammers Yuskevich. Dmitry Yuskevich has played a strong game for the Russians tonight. Messier with it. Waiting. Sends it in front off a skate. Verbeek couldn't get his stick on it. He threw Yuskevich down. Now the puck is centered for Messier. Couldn't knock it down. Under a minute to go in overtime. Here comes Zhitnik with it. And the crowd with its last ounce of energy trying to urge Canada on. Rob Blake back to pick it up for Canada. For Scott Stevens. For Lindros, who taps it in. Lindros, Primo, and Claude Lemieux out there for Canada. Now Lindros with it, trying to center it for Lemieux, who was all alone. Couldn't get it to him. Primo centers it. Lemieux with a shot. Rebound! And Keith Primo couldn't handle it. And the Russians are able to clear the puck down the ice. Icing is the indication as Paul Coffey goes back. 19.4 seconds to play. And Canada will have a face-off in the Russian zone.
Yeah, good work by this line. You got to wonder if this line won't stay together for the tournament. Lindros, Primo, and Claude Lemieux. And they really cycle the puck because of their strength. Primo here will put it outside, and watch, he'll go to the front of the net, and it ends up on his stick. Excellent job by that Russian defenseman there. And here's a chance you get to talk about a face-off, Gord. This is the part that I love. Let's set up the offensive face-off if you're Glenn Sather. You can see Eddie Johnson talking, Mark Crawford. They're going to set things up. So one time in the game of hockey, you get to play a little bit of chess. You can win the draw to the position that you want it to go. You can actually set guys up and send them on a bit of a mission. And I think that's what's happening at the bench right there.
Team Canada is without Joe Sakic tonight. Ron Francis is also sitting down. Lyle Odeline out of the lineup. The Russians without Pavel Bure and Sergei Fedorov, who would certainly make a difference. We were talking to Ron Francis between the second and third period. He was talking about face-offs, and Ron Francis is an authority on the subject. He's one of the best face-off men in the National Hockey League, saying that it's gotten to the point now where it's like basketball. I mean, every team has set plays, and Pittsburgh practices them and practices them and practices them.
Look at the three guys that are out here, Messier, Lindros, and Gretzky, all three very capable of winning this face-off.
Messier against Larionov. One thing the Russians have never been terrific at is face-offs. And now Gretzky may move over here. They'll move Coffey over, so just one man back at the point. So Messier is going to try to pull this back to his left.
Yeah, Messier made that move. He wants Gretzky over there.
Messier, Coffey, and Gretzky out there. First played together in 1980 for the Edmonton Oilers. Messier fought to a draw by Larionov. And Kozlov now flips it ahead. Komalenko knocked that pass down with a high stick. And play is called. And the Canadians immediately gesturing back to the Russian zone where the face-off should be. Igor be just inside the zone.
Sorry, Gord. Igor Larionov did a good job on Messier that time. He, off of the original draw, the original drop of the puck, he tied up Messier's stick and wouldn't let him go. In other words, he tied it first and then won it back.
By the way, Sergei Gonchar out there now in the Canadian room, or the Russian room today. I saw Sergei Fedorov and said, "Hi, Sergei," and 6 guys turned their head around, including coaches. There are 6 people named Sergei on the Russian team. Messier got the draw back, but Coffey couldn't keep it in, and the first meeting between Canada and Russia at this World Cup ends in a draw. And Lindros ends it as he takes a run at Kovalenko. So some bad blood at the end of this game. And a stick wound up in the crowd. The next time they meet, it'll be for real. It'll be the opening game for both teams in the World Cup Thursday in Vancouver.
Well, both teams have got lineup changes to look at. You know that number 88, Lindros, even after the whistle here, continues through on his hit. And you know he'll be in the lineup, but who else will be in the lineup? The Russians are, probably be Bure. Certainly will know Pavel Bure, unless there's a problem, will be playing. And as will Sergei Fedorov. And there'll be 2 very strong players to add to this Russian contingent. I talked to Slava Fedosov before, just actually between periods, but Fedosov says this is maybe the strongest Russian team since the Olympics that were played here in Calgary when Russia was successful.
And Alexander Mogilny, a member of that gold medal winning team in 1988. What does the World Cup hold for the Russians? And you have to consider that as the Canadians have spent their summer relaxing and getting in shape, the Russians have had a lot more things to worry about than getting ready. So Wayne Gretzky and the Canadian Warriors, 9 players over 30 on this Canadian team. playing a tough schedule. Tonight, a tie in overtime against the Russians. Tomorrow night, they play in Edmonton against Slovakia. The tournament opens on Thursday. Let's go to announcer Russ Peake for the post-game ceremony.
Hockey, Nike, Air Canada, Bauer, and Esso. Representing Nike is Vinnie Gomes. Representing Esso, Trevor Dick. Representing Air Canada is Graham Edwards. And representing Bauer, Jack Gregory. Making the Team Russia Player of the Game presentation on behalf of Air Canada is Graham Edwards. The Team Russia Player of the Game, number 27, Alexei Kovalev. Now making the Team Canada Player of the Game presentation is Vinnie Gomes on behalf of Nike Canada. The Team Canada Player of the Game, number 88, Eric Lindros. Canadian Hockey, Air Canada. Esso.
Eric Lindros, Team Canada's Player of the Game. What did this game prove? It proves that whenever Canada faces Russia, whether it means something or not, it should be a pretty good hockey game. It was a 4-4 overtime tie.
Ooh, that looks sore. I know what the doc will be recommending for you.